Chapter 176. Erwin shook his head. No, I'm not nervous. I'm just adjusting my state. I never underestimate any opponent. Ravenclaw nodded. It's a good habit. How about it? Do you want me to teach you a trick? Erwin was stunned for a moment. You want to teach me? Ravenclaw said, It's not that I taught you, but that you ignored some knowledge. Recall that you have read that book. There is a trick in that book. If you don't know it, what will happen to your talent? What a waste. After saying that, Ravenclaw didn't wait for Erwin to respond. The figure dissipated directly. Disappear in place. Erwin frowned. Have you overlooked some knowledge? What is something that can be brought up by Ravenclaw? Erwin lay on the bed and continued to digest the messy knowledge he had learned. Time passes bit by bit. I don't know when. Erwin exited the study state with a smile on his lips and fell into a deep sleep. The form of Ravenclaw appeared. Looking at Erwin on the bed, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. What a terrifying talent. Did you master it so quickly? You have learned the tricks that other wizards need many times to master in actual combat. It seems that he is right. You are really different. Yes, I'm really looking forward to your future. In the early morning, with the first ray of sunlight shining in Erwin's dormitory, Erwin, who was lying on the bed, opened his eyes. Stretched. Erwin came to the window and looked at the ray of rising sun on the horizon. Erwin raised his lips slightly. The time has come. After today, Slytherin will usher in his true master. This step is just the beginning, and it is also a stepping stone for Erwin to take action against the wizarding world. As for what to do next, let's see how those pure-blooded people will be after today. The family's tolerance is gone. After Erwin took a shower, opening the door, in the corridor, the prefects from 2nd to 6th grade were waiting for him. Charlotte stood at the front. After seeing Erwin come out, Charlotte bowed slightly. Prefect, I've asked everyone to go to the auditorium first. The duel time is at 10 o'clock. It's useless for them to wait. It's better to go to the auditorium first and then go to the venue by yourself. Erwin glanced at Charlotte and nodded. Well, there is really no need to wait. You did a good job, let's go. Charlotte was glanced at by Erwin and felt an inexplicable chill on her back. She didn't know if it was her imagination, but Erwin didn't say anything more to him. Instead, he was already moving forward. Charlotte looked at Erwin's back. His brows furrowed slightly, falling at the end of the line. Charlotte began to think, and she began to wonder if Erwin had figured out her plan. But it shouldn't be. Although Erwin is top-notch in terms of strength and scheming, after all, his age is here, and many things will have limitations because of his age. Moreover, she had gone to get to know Erwin specifically, and she could be sure that she was absolutely right about Erwin's weaknesses. But what exactly did Erwin mean by what he just said? Advertisement, did he really see something? Or was Erwin just saying it casually? Charlotte felt a little unsure. Erwin, who was walking at the front, saw the thoughtful look on Charlotte's face from the corner of his eye. I felt cold in my heart, and sure enough, there was something wrong with Charlotte. She thought she couldn't tell, but in fact, if she were someone of the same age, she would really have a shortcoming. After all, the constraints of age cannot be made up for by just relying on your own brain and IQ. But Erwin is a man of 2 generations. Coupled with the influence of countless movies and TV series, even if he hasn't really tried it, Erwin still knows a lot of tricks and will unconsciously bring them in even if he doesn't use them. Charlotte's methods are not very clever, especially in front of Erwin, who has been born in 2 lifetimes. It's really too immature. After today's matters are dealt with, it's time for Charlotte and Erwin to deal with her. At least you have to know first what this person is here for. Otherwise, Erwin would always feel uneasy. At the door of the auditorium, Erwin walked into the auditorium. The originally noisy auditorium suddenly became quiet. All the little wizards turned their attention to Erwin. On the long Slytherin table, Grodia looked at Erwin with a smile on his face. Erwin came to Glodia. Good morning, senior. Grodia smiled and said, Good morning, Erwin. It seems you had a good rest. Erwin said, It's really good. The prefect also had a good rest. Grodia shook his head. No, I didn't sleep well. Especially when I think about being stepped on by you and becoming famous in the magic world today. I feel like I can't sleep. Of course, Erwin would not take Grodia's words to heart. Glodia is really a bit of a protagonist template. He is easygoing and humble towards others. Although he was born in Slytherin and the 28 pureblood families, he is not as domineering as the pureblood family. This made Grodia extremely popular at Hogwarts. Before Erwin came to Hogwarts, he was the most dazzling Slytherin. Even many people from other colleges are full of praise when mentioning Grodia. Many professors also like him very much. Erwin said. What the senior said is too modest. I may not be the senior's opponent, but I am also heartless and fell asleep after sticking to the pillow. Grodia put away the smile on his face and said solemnly, Erwin, I am not your opponent. I know this very well. But I want you to go all out, and I want to see the gap between you and me. Erwin looked at the solemn expression on Glodia's face and restrained his polite thoughts. Said, I will, senior. I also hope you will not show mercy. This battle is your last battle in Hogwarts, and it is also the last battle challenged by my prefect. Grodia nodded. I will, Erwin. Out of respect for you, I will also try my best. The two stood at the Slytherin table. The magic power around him is faintly flowing. On the faculty stage, Professor McGonagall and others had no intention of stopping him. Look at Erwin and the two. Professor Flitwick exclaimed. What two amazing little guys. Professor Sprout nodded. Erwin's magic power is a bit terrifying. The boy from the Selwyn family is also extraordinary. Although he is not as good as Erwin, his magic power is higher than that of his peers. I heard that the Erwin family seems to have some special methods that can make the little wizard have a second magic riot, and now it seems that it is true. Professor McGonagall said, They are all rumors, don't talk about them. I am looking forward to the battle between the two of them today. Chapter 177. Snape drank the soup from the bowl, his eyes casually falling on Erwin and Grodia. I was already thinking about when I would visit the Selwyn family and find out how to deal with this second magic riot. I thought it was just a rumor before, but now it seems that the Selwyn family may have really mastered something amazing. Of course, Snape wanted this thing designated not for his own use. He wanted to see if he could use it for Erwin. As for whether the Selwyn family will give it, if it really helps Erwin, Snape would give them decency, and if they didn't want decency, Snape could make them decency. Don't ask, just ask. Our dear sect was a Death Eater before. Erwin also had a strange look in his eyes at this time. It was also the first time that he faced Glodia's magical wave. This kind of magical power is beyond the average wizards of the same age. Although it is not comparable to myself, it is still higher than the average student level. If we use digital marking, Glodia should have a level of 2.3 or 2.4 now. There is a gap with Erwin, but it is much better than other little wizards. The most important thing is that Grodia has not graduated yet. If he continues to grow at this rate, when he reaches the age of professors in the future, he may directly reach the dean level of magic power. Erwin asked the system. Within the system's magic level settings, except for the 4 deans of Hogwarts, the other professors are actually at the 4th level of magic level, which is the level of elite Aurors. Of course, there are also some who are just pretending to be fake, so we won't talk about it. Level 5 is only at the level of the heads of Hogwarts' 4 major houses, and Glodia may become the second Snape. Just talk about magic, Erwin said. Senior, you hide it very deeply. Grodia smiled and said, I can't compare to you. There are so many families in the wizarding world, but there are only a few that can be called the 28 pure blood clans. Junior brother, your understanding of the wizarding world is still very low. Too little. Erwin nodded. I'm taught. After sitting back down, Erwin once again had thoughts about these pure-blood families. According to Glodia, the heritage of these pure-blood families seems to be more than just wealth. There are still many things that Erwin has not found out. These pure-blood families all have their own secrets. In other words, it is their unique heritage. It doesn't matter, since there is a secret, and it's a secret that Erwin is interested in, then just find a way to kill one. People can find the truth through trial and error. Just when Erwin was eating, suddenly, Dumbledore, who was sitting on the professor's chair, suddenly stood up. Subsequently, the wand in his hand suddenly appeared, pointing a little forward. The next moment, 2 figures appeared in the auditorium of Hogwarts. Erwin's pupil shrank slightly. He recognized who it was. He was taller than Hagrid and had short hair, and was accompanied by a silver-haired girl. This image obviously comes from Ola Maxim, the principal of Beauxbatons School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. As for the people around her, it was Fleur Delacour, and she was the only one. As for how Erwin knew, this image is basically the same as in the movie, except that Fleur is more beautiful than in the movie. At the professor's chair, several other professors also had more or less surprised looks on their faces. Dumbledore stood up and said, Principal Olam, you are far from welcome. Advertisement Olam said, Sorry, Dumbledore. You came uninvited, but today's Hogwarts Prefect Challenge caused a sensation in the entire wizarding world. Even our side has heard about it. It happens to be the weekend, and I will take a student is here to observe. Excuse me. Dumbledore shook his head. It doesn't matter. I didn't expect you to be interested in this matter. Come and take a seat. Olam nodded. Then he looked at the Slytherin table. To be precise, his eyes fell on Erwin. Such a strong magic power. Are you Erwin? Erwin's heart skipped a beat. This giant principal was a bit over the top. Can you tell the status of his magic power at a glance? Erwin stood up. Hello, respected Principal Olam. I am Erwin. Olam nodded. That's right. Hogwarts really has a lot of potential. Fleur looked at Erwin curiously. There was some confusion in his eyes, but there were also some unspeakable emotions. Erwin was confused as to what was going on with this woman, but immediately, Erwin thought of something. Fleur seems to have a quarter of Vila blood in her body. Vila seems to be a magical animal. Olam noticed something strange about Fleur beside him and asked, What's wrong? Fleur? Fleur shook her head. Nothing, Principal. Olam didn't ask any more questions. Then just find a place to sit down. We'll go back after watching this duel. Fleur nodded. Then he walked directly towards the Slytherin table. Draco looked at Fleur walking in front of him with a look of confusion on his face. A heart thumping thumpingly. He couldn't help but pinch Gower's leg beside him. Goyle screamed in pain. Master Malfoy, why are you pinching me? Draco woke up from a dream, and his face instantly turned red when he thought of what he had just looked like. Pansy on the side snorted coldly. You have no brains, what a shame. Draco lowered his head, afraid to speak. He looked at Erwin secretly. He was afraid that Erwin would scold him and embarrass Slytherin. Erwin said, Miss, the blood of Vila is not something that my classmates can resist. If you continue to radiate your charm, you will definitely make my classmates crazy. A strange color flashed in Fu Rong's eyes. As expected of Erwin, who is now famous, you can tell at a glance. So, this junior, can you give up your position to me? The last part of her sentence was addressed to Draco. Draco quickly squeezed aside. The huge Goyle was squeezed directly out of the long table. Standing aside, he looked aggrieved. Erwin was helpless. Draco couldn't really be blamed for this. Even a quarter of the Vila bloodline is too high. Fleur stretched out her hand. Hello, my name is Fleur Delacour. Erwin shook his hand gently. Erwin Cavendi. Fleur smiled and said, Do you mind if I sit here? Erwin rolled his eyes in his mind. If you don't mind, your position will be better. Erwin said, Of course I don't mind, please sit down. Hogwarts has always been hospitable, and Slytherin is the same. Fleur smiled brightly and sat down next to Erwin, not paying any attention to the cannibalistic looks of the witches in the auditorium. Chapter 178. Fleur said, You have a very good smell. Can you tell me what it is? Erwin smiled and said, If I knew, I don't think I would be stingy about telling you. Fleur covered her mouth and laughed twice. You are very famous. Even our side knows you. Many people are very curious about you. They call you the real nobleman of the British magic world. Now it seems, well deserved. Erwin cursed in his heart. What the hell? If he had been so famous, his reputation would have exploded long ago. He doesn't know whether he will become famous or not. On the professor's seat, Olam looked at Fleur, who was talking to Erwin. A strange color flashed in his eyes. Fleur was very arrogant in Beaux Batons, and of course, she also had the qualifications to be arrogant. I have never seen Fleur take the initiative to talk to anyone. Dumbledore said, Dean Olam, are you here just for a visit? Olam retracted his gaze from Erwin and said, No, Karkaroff should be here soon. Let's talk about it then. Dumbledore nodded. I was curious about the purpose of the two deans coming to Hogwarts. Not long after, the same appearance appeared. Durmstrang's principal Igor Karkaroff appeared in the center of the auditorium with his student Victor Crumb. Karkaroff said coldly, Dumbledore, your Hogwarts gate is really difficult to enter. Dumbledore's expression remained unchanged and he said, It's all for the safety of these children. Karkaroff snorted coldly. Didn't say much. He went directly to the teacher's seat and sat down unceremoniously. Who is Erwin? Someone can actually reach the last level of Slytherin's prefect challenge. Are you Slytherin students getting worse and worse now? Can a first-year wizard reach this level? This step. Karkaroff just finished speaking. The next moment, a sharp blade flew directly against Karkaroff's sleeve. It left a mark on Karkaroff's sleeve. Karkaroff's expression changed slightly. Turn around and look. In Snape's hand, the wand was pointed at Karkaroff casually. What did you just say? Karkaroff's pupils contracted slightly, but he didn't dare to attack. They were both Death Eaters, and Karkaroff knew Snape's strength too well. Dumbledore didn't say anything and just sat there for a while. No thought of stopping it at all. Erwin rolled his eyes. In this guy, Erwin seemed to see an old friend. His name was Ron Weasley. Same stupidity, same dish. If he hadn't become a traitor to the Death Eaters, this guy would still be dancing with the Dementors. The most important thing is that this guy's skills are not good, and he has a bad mouth. Deserve a beating. Karkaroff looked at him and said nothing. Snape's eyes flashed with sarcasm, and he put away his wand. Dumbledore saw that it was over and stood up. Okay, it's almost time. Other guests should be arriving soon. Get ready. Professor McGonagall and others nodded. Hogwarts is open today, and many people came to watch the duel between Erwin and Glodia. They also need to make arrangements. Fleur stood up. Erwin, come and visit our school when you have time. I can be your tour guide. Erwin nodded. I will. Afterwards, Fleur left with Dean Olim. When Karkaroff passed by Erwin, advertisement, he stopped and turned to look at Erwin. Just about to speak, a cold voice came. Don't block the corridor. Do you need me to help you walk? Not surprisingly, the person who spoke was Snape. Karkaroff looked ugly and left directly. It can be seen that he is in a bad mood. Of course, Snape didn't care whether he was in a good mood or not. The other little wizards in the auditorium also left one after another. Draco moved closer to Erwin. Prefect, come on. Erwin nodded. Pansy also came over. Sir, let's go there first. Erwin nodded. Although he didn't know why Pansy changed his name during this time, Erwin didn't take it seriously. From now on, we are all our own people. You can call me whatever you want. If it doesn't work, you can call me Your Majesty. Unlike these young wizards, the 7th grade wizards who were about to graduate came to Glodia. Prefect, that's pretty much it. Don't embarrass yourself too much. Don't lose too badly. After all, we are in 7th grade. Don't tell me. I'm still looking forward to following the Slytherin army later. It's very majestic. If it doesn't work, the prefect should vote. Erwin was suppressing laughter at the side. The 3 armies had not moved yet. Will they rebel first? Glodia also had a wry smile on his face. When only Erwin and Glodia were left in the auditorium, Glodia said, These guys, they don't think much of me. Erwin smiled and said, That's because they don't understand the senior's strength. Glodia shook his head. I'm going over first, Erwin. We'll see you soon. Erwin nodded. Not long after Glodia left, Erwin also came to the lounge of the Quidditch field. This is where Erwin and the others are preparing. Erwin took out his wand and wiped it gently. Today should be his most difficult battle in the magic world. You can't use Gatling, you can only use your own hard power. The silver-white wand trembled slightly as Erwin wiped it. It seems that he is also looking forward to the next battle. At the same time, spectators were arriving in the stands one after another. Draco saw his parents. He waved his hand quickly. Narcissa also noticed her son. He waved his hand casually and looked at Lucius aside. Lucius, we are going to see the child soon. Lucius nodded, his eyes full of anticipation and hidden excitement. Author's perspective, don't ask how you can see the hidden depths. Draco scratched his head. He always felt that his mother's attitude was so perfunctory just now, but then he thought it was an illusion. His mother liked him the most. Narcissa held Lucius's hand a little harder. Lucius patted Narcissa's hand. Okay, calm down your mood, otherwise it will be easy for others to see that something is wrong. Now that the child has come to the magic world, there will be many opportunities for us to meet in the future. During the holidays, we can let Draco invite him to Malfoy Manor. Narcissa nodded. Well, I want to cook myself, and I want to make a lot of delicious things for him. Lucius thought of Narcissa's craftsmanship and inexplicably felt that Erwin might be in trouble. Time passes bit by bit. 10 o'clock, fleeting. Dumbledore held his wand to his throat. I declare that the Slytherin prefects challenge the final battle, which begins now. Glodia Selwyn and Elvin Cavendi enter. Chapter 179. In the passage, Erwin and Glodia walked out. As the 2 men appeared on the stage, everyone in the audience was excited. Narcissa held Lucius's hand tightly. It's him. It's him. That hair color is the same as his father's, and that pupil color is the same as his mother's, like elf-like pupils. No wrong, it's him. I really saw him. Poor kid. How much suffering did he have to endure to be as charming as he is today? Lucius was also very excited. The short staff held by the other hand was shaking slightly. He softly comforted Narcissa beside him. Okay, Narcissa, calm down. Don't let others notice. His identity cannot be exposed for the time being. Even if someone can guess something through his hair color, they can't be sure. So, we cannot let his identity be exposed at this time. You know, Some of these pure-blood families have already turned to them. For more benefits, they may take action against Erwin. After hearing this, Narcissa quickly adjusted her emotions. She could be indifferent to other things, but if it related to Erwin's safety, she couldn't ignore it. She would never put Erwin in danger. Never. Erwin and Glodia were on opposite sides of the field. The expressions of both of them were very calm, as if nothing in the outside world could affect them. Dumbledore nodded to Snape. Snape's figure flashed and landed directly in the middle of the two people. The authority to apparate has been released to you too, and, except for the Unforgivable Curse, you can cast all the spells you have mastered. We will watch from the sidelines. Don't worry about anything else. There are no rules for dueling. Rules. Are you all clear? Erwin and Glodia nodded. This is what Snape had already told them. For the sake of fairness, and also for the fact that this prefect position is well-deserved. Of course we have to go all out. This is also the past few years, and the magic world has more rules. I heard from Snape that in the era of the Big Four, prefect challenges were filled with green lights. But that's because the Big Four are here, and even green light can stop them. But it's not possible in this era. Even Dumbledore can't save people immediately when someone casts the death curse, plus the rules of the wizarding world. Snape waved to Erwin and Glodia. The two came to Snape's side. Snape drew his wand. Put it in front of you. Erwin and Glodia also placed their wands on top of Snape's wand. Subsequently, Snape's wand raised the two's wands and pointed them at the sky. Slytherin Prefect's challenge, begin. The next moment, 3 streams of light rose into the sky from the 3 people's wands. Gathering in the air, a snake-shaped figure appears in the sky. On the auditorium on both sides of the venue, everyone looked at the snake-shaped coat of arms. That is the emblem of Slytherin, the symbol of Slytherin. Some Slytherin graduates who had graduated long ago couldn't help but have red eyes. They thought of the green years they spent at Hogwarts. At this moment, Slytherin's dormitory castle emerged from the Black Lake. A dark green magic power flew directly from above. It merges directly into the snake-shaped totem in the air. The next moment, the snake-shaped totem seemed to come alive, twisting his body in the air. Then they were connected end to end, and a moment later, a ring appeared in the air. It is somewhat similar to the Slytherin standard ring. The silver-white ring has an emerald-green ring surface, and there is a small snake twisting inside the ring surface. Snape said, "That is Slytherin's chief token. Erwin, if you win today, you will get that ring, which is Slytherin's chief token. But if you lose, the ring will be dissipate again, waiting for the next person who can successfully overcome the prefect's challenge. Do you understand?" Erwin nodded and said firmly, "I will not lose." Snape nodded. Advertisement, then he withdrew his wand. "Now salute." Erwin and Glodia looked at each other. The two then held their wands upright in front of their chests. Glodia Selwyn, Elvin Cavendi. The two bowed slightly to each other. Snape returned to the stands. After the two saluted, they turned their backs to each other and distanced themselves. After a while, there was no sign. They both turned around at the same time. Shattered to pieces. A magic spell flew directly from Glodia's wand. Erwin waved his wand lightly, and a silent, disarming spell flew out at the same time. The two spells collided in the center of the field. There was a blast. The two magic spells disappeared instantly. In the stands, the audience did not expect that the two men would suddenly start fighting. Narcissa grabbed Lucius' thigh hard. The aristocratic restraint prevented Lucius from shouting out immediately, but his face turned red instantly. "Narcissa, let go. It hurts. Don't be so nervous." Erwin's exquisite, silent, disarming spell already shows his level. You don't have to be so nervous. After hearing this, Narcissa's hand relaxed a little. "Sorry, Lucius, I'm too nervous." Lucius shook his head helplessly. At this time, the two people on the field have already begun the second round of confrontation. The two shouted in unison, "Armor protection." The next moment, a faint shadow of armor appeared on the two men's bodies. Glodia glanced at Erwin in surprise. "Junior, it turns out that you have always had reservations. In the first grade, you have an iron armor curse that is not weaker than mine. I still underestimated you." Erwin smiled and said, "Senior, I'm so proud of you. Your strength is truly beyond my imagination." The corner of Glodia's mouth rose. "Then, the temptation is over. He will be imprisoned quickly. His body will be shattered into pieces, and his body will explode with a thunderbolt." The magic wand in Glodia's hand seemed to wave a phantom. 3 consecutive curses were released towards Erwin. Erwin's expression remained unchanged. The figure disappeared instantly. From the stands, bursts of exclamations came. Apparating? How did he master it in the first grade? Did he pass the apparating test? Will the Ministry of Magic give such a young child a test for apparition? Lucius listened to these discussions with disdain. Rules? Rules are only used to restrain mediocrity. It was just a test. They had already solved it for Erwin. Similarly, Erwin also heard these discussions. But he didn't take it seriously. His dear godfather has told him in advance that they will handle these matters. Except for the unforgivable curse, Erwin can do whatever he wants. The moment Erwin apparat away, Grodia responded. The moment Erwin appeared on the field, a curse followed and struck Glodia. Chapter 180. Subsequently, Grodia's figure was also distorted. He disappeared directly on the spot, and Erwin's curse hit the ground directly. A lot of mud splashed on the grass. It was not surprising that Erwin missed the target. After all, Glodia was not a mediocre person, so how could he be eliminated so easily? Erwin disapparated again and disappeared directly from the spot, then appeared from an unknown place, and a magic spell was issued again. Grodia was not to be outdone. The two of them had already entered into a fierce battle. No one would wait for more than one spell to be released. Both of them used apparition to appear again and attack again and again. In the field, a large number of magic spells flew out. Light effects burst out. Dumbledore stood up. Waving the wand in his hand, an eggshell-shaped barrier directly enveloped the center of the venue. Prevent any unlucky little wizard from being hit by these outgoing spells. In fact, even if Ron wasn't here, Erwin would probably miss. However, precautions are still necessary. In the stands, all the spectators were stunned. I really can't believe this is actually a battle between two little wizards. If it's two Aurors who are doing this, I believe it. Slytherin really gave birth to an amazing child this time. All the little wizards swallowed. They have never seen such a scene. Harry Potter and Malfoy were mixed together. Draco stammered. Is this the strength of a prefect? Is this the strength of Senior Glodia? These two people are too terrifying. This is a battle between wizards. Pansy's eyes were full of admiration. Lord Erwin is invincible. He will lead us to a different future. He is destined to stand at the top of the magic world. Harry Potter also ignited a desire for strength in his heart for the first time. You think, if we ask Mr. Erwin to teach us, can we be so good? Hermione said. It should be impossible to become as powerful as Erwin. You have to understand. There is only one Erwin, and we can't surpass him, but there is no doubt that we can become stronger. Harry Potter nodded. I was already thinking about how to get Erwin to agree to teach them. In a corner of the stands, there were several heads of pureblood families sitting there. One of them said, Old Selwyn, this kid of yours is amazing. And this old Selwyn is Grodia's grandfather, the current head of the Selwyn family. After hearing what the people on the side said, Old Selwyn said, Don't you think this silver-white hair looks familiar? Several other people looked at each other. There was a moment of silence. A cold voice came. Is it him? Old Selwyn, what do you know? Old Selwyn said coldly, Yaxley, pay attention to your attitude. Who do you think you are talking to? You are just a junior, but you really think that it is a big deal to cling to the 8 great families. The head of the Yaxley family frowned and said, Old Selwyn, you should know that if it is really him, he will only die. They will not let him go. Do you still want to go against the 8 families? Advertisement. Old Selwyn said nothing. Yaxley saw Old Selwyn's attitude. Frowning slightly. Is it possible that you actually want to? You are really crazy. You will bring trouble to the Selwyn family. Old Selwyn sneered. I won't bother you. Do you think no one knows what you did in Diagon Alley? This child is not someone you can need at will. Instead of caring about me, why don't you think about how you will deal with this kid's revenge when he takes over the position of chief? By the way, I heard that your illegitimate son seems to have become loyal to him. The head of the Yaxley family looked at the two fighting men and clenched his fists gently. He can't fight those people. It doesn't matter whether he is from that family or not. Even if he is, he has no foundation in the magic world. What can he fight with? Old Selwyn said nothing. Don't you have any background? He doesn't think so. Old Selwyn looked to the stands on the other side. Sitting there were the Malfoys, Snape, and several professors from Hogwarts. At this time, Erwin and Erwin, who were fighting in the field, appeared at the same time. Both of them looked a little pale. Grodia said, Junior, it's really amazing. You can actually apparate so many times, and you can actually endure this uncomfortable feeling. Erwin took a deep breath. He suppressed the strong discomfort in his stomach. What I have to admit is that it is really uncomfortable. Erwin said, Senior is not bad either. I didn't expect that he would hide so deeply. I have to admit, I really underestimate you, Senior. Your strength is really scary. Grodia smiled and said, Are you bragging about yourself? I don't need to apparate now, so my body must have reached its limit. Erwin nodded calmly. Apparition fighting is very useful, but this thing really can't be used frequently. It's too uncomfortable and the body's functions simply can't bear it. Grodia glanced at the stands. Old Selwyn nodded slightly to Glodia. Grodia said, Junior, let's add some luck. Erwin looked at Glodia in confusion. What? Grodia said, If I lose, the Selwyn family will offer their loyalty to you. Erwin's heart skipped a beat. Looked at Grodia. His brows furrowed slightly. What if I lose? Glodia smiled and said, If Junior loses, then I hope Junior will protect our Selwyn family in the future. Erwin frowned even more tightly. I don't see any difference between the two bets, and I don't think I have the strength to protect a pure-blood family. Grodia waved his hand. Junior, all you need to do is tell me whether you want to bet on this lottery or not. Erwin was really unsure about this. He always felt that there was a pit here, but he didn't know where it was. To be fair, Erwin didn't think that a prefect challenge would cost Grodia so much. Suddenly, Erwin thought of something. What Glodia just said seemed to represent family loyalty. Erwin turned to look at the stands. In the stands, old Selwyn looked as usual with a smile. After noticing Erwin's gaze, he nodded slightly to Erwin. Erwin was even more unsure. Looking at Snape, Snape also frowned at this time, but did not express his position. Chapter 181. In the stands on the other side, Narcissa asked in confusion, Lucius, what is the Selwyn family doing? Lucius thought for a moment. Look at old Selwyn, he exclaimed. As expected of him, people become better with age. It's true. That old guy may have noticed Erwin a long time ago. He may even have noticed it when Amelia was at Hogwarts. When he arrived at Amelia, he just didn't bet. Now he plans to bet on Erwin. Narcissa exclaimed, What should we do? Has he already recognized Erwin's identity? We have to kill him. We cannot let him reveal Erwin's identity. Lucius shook his head. It's not that simple. No one knows how strong old Selwyn is, but it is said that the Dark Lord personally visited the Selwyn family, but in the end, the Selwyn family did not join. Even though he was a Death Eater, he still survived. I underestimated this old guy. He is really not that simple. Now let's see Erwin himself and what he thinks. Narcissa looked worriedly at Erwin, who was thinking. Grodia said, What's the matter, Junior? I don't think you have any reason to refuse this condition. Erwin said, It's precisely because the conditions are so favorable that I feel it's abnormal. Grodia smiled and said, Erwin, you have no reason to refuse, right? Erwin thought about it for a long time, but couldn't figure out what the problem would be. Looking left and right, everything seems to be a good thing. Simply, Erwin didn't bother to think about it. At worst, if there is really a trap, just find out the location of Selwyn Manor and get some exploding toys. With the benefits delivered to his door, Erwin had no reason to turn them away. Moreover, if Erwin's guess is correct, the attitude of the Selwyn family is likely to be related to his hidden life experience. Erwin said, Okay, I agree. Grodia smiled and said, Then let's continue. After saying that, Grodia took the lead. A silent spell was directed towards Erwin. Erwin no longer bothered to scold Glodia for his lack of martial ethics. Just trying to get away. Underfoot, vines flew out. Wrap his calves. Erwin knew in his heart that Glodia was still hiding his stupidity. He could now release these spells silently, but he still kept shouting the spells. Just to make Erwin relax his guard. Erwin released a burst of fragmentation directly at the vines under his feet. The vines shattered. However, by this time Erwin was too late to avoid Glodia's spell. The outcome seems to have emerged at this moment. Grodia thought so too. After all, it was too late for Erwin to block with his wand. However, the next moment, Erwin raised his hand directly to the curse that had rushed in front of him. The palm of your hand is covered with magic power. The next moment, the curse was held directly in Erwin's hand. Throw it to the side. The spell fell directly to the ground. With a bang, a small pit appeared. The stands were quiet for a moment. A strange color flashed in Dumbledore's eyes. Lucius was surprised. Have you mastered this skill at such a young age? How strong is his magic? Glodia looked at Erwin's response and was also full of surprise. I thought I had already underestimated you, Junior, but I didn't expect that I still underestimated you. How much magic power do you have to be able to use this technique? Erwin smiled and didn't answer. That's what Ravenclaw taught him. In fact, it's not a great skill. In the final analysis, it's just using powerful magic to force the magic spell to change the trajectory. This technique is usually a combat technique often used by wizards whose magic power far exceeds that of ordinary people. Erwin waved the wand in his hand continuously. Advertisement: several spells were cast. It's not polite to reciprocate, and Erwin is not someone who is passively beaten. Glodia reacted very quickly and dodged to the side to avoid Erwin's curse. However, the next moment, Glodia felt a chill on her back. Subconsciously, an armor protector was released, and then a magic spell struck Glodia's back. Glodia was beaten and staggered. The phantom armor was directly shattered. Glodia was shocked. How did you do it? Erwin didn't explain it either. How to explain it? Could it be said that it was his golden talent? All the spectators in the stands were also a little confused. Draco's eyes lit up. Prefect, how did you do this? I saw that the spell has been exhausted. Pansy and others shook their heads. They couldn't understand either. In fact, Erwin's battle was also the first time that the golden talent showed its power. During the apparition battle just now, because there was not enough distance to change the trajectory, those magic spells could not achieve the precise guidance effect. But in this face-to-face battle, the effect that this golden talent can have is really great. The two men on the field began to fight again. Glodia quickly thought of a way to deal with it. He couldn't dodge Erwin's attacks, because the effect of Erwin's ballistic turning is so weird. After trying several times to avoid it, Glodia simply gave up the idea of escape. Since you can't avoid it, just carry it. The wands in the hands of the two men began to spit out magic spells crazily. Blast towards the opponent. The two of them were like two forts at this time, standing there competing for magic power and spells. Between the two of them, rays of light exploded. The ground of the entire venue looked like it had been blasted by bombers. Trash everywhere. After Erwin's spell was shattered by Glodia again, Glodia felt the magic in her body. He frowned. We can't keep fighting like this. His magic power is not as good as Erwin's, and it consumes too much. If you fight for magic like this, he will definitely lose in the end. Glodia said loudly. The last move, Erwin. If you follow, I will be the loser. The flames are blazing. Glodia shouted loudly. The next moment, from the top of Glodia's wand, a small fireball began to expand rapidly. The magic power in Glodia's body was quickly drained, until there was no trace of magic left in Glodia's body. The fireballs have gathered to an extremely large extent. On the stands, Snape had drawn out his wand, ready to take action at any time. Even the Elder Wand in Dumbledore's hand didn't know when it appeared in his hand. The fireball rushed directly towards Erwin. All eyes turned to Erwin. Erwin stood there, looking at the fireball coming towards him. It was as if he was scared out of his wits. Snape and Professor Quirrell had already pointed their wands at the fireball and were about to take action. In the center of the field, where Erwin stood, a soft shout came out. Fire shield, protect yourself. I lack imagination, so I really couldn't write the fighting scene. I simulated it many times in my mind, but when I wrote it, it was not satisfactory. I revised it several times, but I couldn't write the feeling. I disappointed everyone. Chapter 182. As the words, fire shield protect, sounded, the fireball had already enveloped Erwin's body. The next second, a purple flame suddenly appeared from inside the fireball, and the red flame gnawed away and expanded little by little. Purple flames formed a wall of fire surrounding Erwin. Gradually, the red flames have all disappeared. Only a purple wall of fire was left in the field, surrounding Erwin. Erwin stood in the center of the purple flames, with the silver-white wand hanging upside down in his hand. Erwin was like a god from myths and legends, wrapped in flames and unable to fight with any flames. Erwin opened his arms. Enjoy the warm feeling brought by the purple flame. This scene shocked everyone. On the stands, at some point, almost all the adult wizards had stood up, including Dumbledore. Dumbledore looked at Erwin, who was bathed in purple flames. The originally deep eyes were now full of horror. He was too familiar with this scene. Erwin in the Ring of Fire seemed to overlap with a figure that had been buried deep in Dumbledore's mind for many years. The same silver-white hair, now so similar. Dumbledore murmured, "It's impossible. How is it possible? Why does Erwin use a fire shield to protect himself?" Dumbledore could no longer maintain his usual composure. His mind was full of doubts at this time. Snape looked at Erwin with a flash of surprise in his eyes. He didn't know Grindelwald, but he had heard of the legend of Grindelwald. Fire shield is like a pronoun. It represents Grindelwald. Narcissa held the railing. That's the fire shield. Is it the fire shield? How could Erwin do this? Lucius shook his head, his eyes full of confusion. The fire shield spell is not a secret in the magic world, but except for Grindelwald, no one can use it. Because the fire shield is actually a derivative of calendar fire. There are only two people in the magic world who can control Li Hua to this extent. The first one, Grindelwald, his fire shield, and Dumbledore's Vulcan clears the way. That battle shocked the entire magic world. The power of Dumbledore and Grindelwald was also known to the world at that time. Over the years, no one has tried to learn these two kinds of magic, but the final results are far from satisfactory. Calendar fire is uncontrollable, which is why calendar fire is called a dangerous curse. Grindelwald and Dumbledore, who can control the calendar fire, are also known as powerful pronouns. Students here. Some seniors who knew this spell also changed their expressions. Draco wondered, "Prefect, what spell was used?" Pansy shook her head. She didn't know this either. Hermione thought for a while and said, "Fire Shield is Grindelwald's signature spell. It is a powerful defensive spell that controls caloric fire. In addition, it can also be used to discern a person's heart. Only those who wholeheartedly stand on the same side as the caster can pass through the flames of the fire shield." Of course, this is the definition of the magic world, but the fire shield has appeared twice in the history of the magic world. The first time, it was Grindelwald who used it to screen the loyalty of his followers, and the second time, this curse almost destroyed a city. Advertisement Draco swallowed. My dear, how scary. The prefect actually mastered this kind of magic spell. Doesn't that mean that if the prefect is willing, he can also destroy a city? Hermione shook her head. It's not that simple. The power of the curse is still related to magic power. No matter how good Erwin is, his magic power is not enough compared to a legend like Grindelwald. In the stands, Lucius glanced at Hermione in surprise. This little witch has some knowledge. The new students at Hogwarts are indeed extraordinary. Narcissa nodded. Seeing as she is very familiar with Xiaolong, her level is enough to become Erwin's follower. This is her honor. Lucius said nothing, as he agreed with Narcissa's words in his heart. At this time, in the center of the field, the purple flames around Erwin began to slowly change. There were two loud dragon roars, and from the purple flames, two flame-condensed giant dragon shadows flew out with wings flashing, hovering around Erwin, waiting for Erwin's order. The eyes of the two giant purple fire dragons were full of the desire to destroy. As long as Erwin gave the order, they would rush out and burn everything. The purple fire circle is still expanding, and it burned towards the surroundings of the Quidditch field. Professor McGonagall frowned and looked at Dumbledore standing aside. It's time to stop it. If the calendar fire is allowed to burn, it will be very troublesome. Dumbledore glanced at the ring suspended in the air that symbolized the head of Slytherin, shaking his head. It's not over yet. The prefect challenge will only end when the ring falls into Erwin's hand. At this time, we cannot participate. However, you are right. We should make some preparations, got it? The next moment, the Elder Wand in Dumbledore's hand tapped gently on the ground. All curses come to an end. The next second, a golden light shot directly into the sky from the ground, wrapped the entire stand. The advance of the purple flame was paused, and it only covered half of the Quidditch pitch where Erwin was standing in the center of the circle. The purple flame swayed gently, seeming very dissatisfied. Erwin looked at Dumbledore. The wand in Dumbledore's hand has been put away, looking very casual. Erwin was even more vigilant about Old B. What the hell? A single person can end all curses. This is different from what the sect released in the Room of Requirement that day. Erwin had no magic power that day. It was all the result of Cali fire devouring the surrounding combustibles. But now Erwin has added a lot of magic power to the fire shield. 1/3 of the backup energy was used. In the end, Dumbledore stopped it all by himself. How strong is this Loudang? In the stands, some wizards from pure-blood families looked at Dumbledore with different eyes. They can also block Erwin's fire shield. After all, Erwin is still too young, and even though his magic power exceeds that of his peers, it is still inferior to some of the family heads among them. But they can't be as casual and simple as Dumbledore. Erwin withdrew his gaze. He was a fool. Sooner or later, he would be able to surpass Dumbledore. This was his confidence. The cheater can't beat the natives? Don't embarrass the Traversers. Erwin looked at Grodya. Well, senior, it seems that the balance of victory has finally tipped towards me. Chapter 183. Grodya smiled bitterly and shook his head. Yeah, I lost. Glodia looked at the two purple flame dragons hovering above Erwin. There was some longing in his eyes. Then, Glodia knelt down on one knee. He grabbed his wand with both hands and raised it above his head. As promised, Lord Elvin Cavendi, Glodia Selwyn, on behalf of the Selwyn family, swears allegiance to you. The point where your wand points will be where the Selwyn family's troops are heading. In the stands, old Selwyn also stood up. The crutch in his hand touched the ground. The head is slightly lowered. Yaxley looked at old Selwyn's performance. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Old Selwyn, you are asking for death. Old Selwyn ignored him. Instead, he lowered his head and waited for Erwin's response. When Erwin saw this scene, his frown deepened. The Selwyn family is actually serious. Old Selwyn said, Glodia, express your loyalty to Lord Erwin. Everyone present was shocked when they heard this. In this case, they knew exactly what old Selwyn meant. Dumbledore saw this and was ready to stop it. Unexpectedly, old Selwyn saw what Dumbledore meant. Principal Dumbledore, this is a matter that belongs to the Selwyn family. The Selwyn family will bear all the consequences. In the name of the 28 pure blood clans, starting the eternal oath, what happened today is an internal matter of the Selwyn family. No matter what the outcome is, the Selwyn family will not pursue anyone's problems. Please witness it. A glint flashed in Dumbledore's eyes. Sitting back in his seat, pure blood families have rules that have existed since ancient times. The moment a family uses the eternal oath in the name of the 28 pure blood clans, this matter becomes the pure blood family's business. Even if it is magic, the ministry cannot interfere. This is respect for the pure blood family. It is also the reason why the pure blood family has been superior to others in its operations for so many years. Lucius Malfoy was the first to stand up. In the name of the Malfoy family, the Malfoy family witnesses. As Lucius Malfoy spoke first, the other pure blood families looked at each other and stood up. In the name of the Greengrass family, witness the oath of the pure blood family. In the name of the Flint family. In the name of the Travers family. In the name of the Shafik family. Several existing pure blood families have expressed their opinions one after another. Last remaining was the patriarch of the Yaxley family. Seeing the current situation, he could only stand up with an ugly expression. In the name of the Yaxley family, he didn't want to take a stand, but now it was a pure blood family's oath. If he stayed out of the matter, other pure blood families would turn their guns against him. After all, their 28 pure blood clans are theoretically one. Glodia stood up. With a smile on his face, he walked towards Erwin. Erwin frowned and said, Senior, there's no need for this. Glodia smiled and said, This is what I should do. Then, sir, I will offer you my loyalty. The next moment, Glodia stepped directly into the ring of fire without hesitation. The flames brushed across Glodia's body, but did not cause any harm to Glodia. Erwin was shocked. Glodia actually planned to be loyal to him, and without the slightest hesitation. The function of fire shield to test loyalty is very magical. It depends on the attitude of the person who crosses the wall of fire towards the caster, and also the attitude of the spellcaster towards the person who crosses it. Advertisement in short, this is a very idealistic power. There are many unreasonable settings in the world of Harry Potter. According to the ant, it is idealistic. If you want it, it will be there. Just ask if it is necessary for the plot. Glodia knelt on one knee in front of Erwin. Hold your wand above your head. Grown-ups. At this point, Erwin didn't hesitate at all. Pick up the wand in Glodia's hand. Take a closer look. Then the wand lightly tapped Glodia's forehead. I, Elvin Cavendi. In the name of the Cavendi family, I accept your allegiance. And, in the name of the Cavendi family, I provide shelter to you and your family. On top of the stands, Draco looked at Erwin. His eyes were full of envy. Do you think I can pass through that ring of fire? I feel that I am loyal to Prefect Erwin. After Draco finished speaking, but got no response. Turning around to look, he found that Hermione and Harry didn't know what they were thinking. Draco scratched his head. He glanced around and said, Hey, where did Pansy go? At this moment, an exclamation came from the stands on the other side. Pansy, what do you want to do? The one who spoke was Pansy's father, the current patriarch of the Parkinson family. Pansy ignored her father. Come to the outside of the fire ring. Then, no one, including Erwin, reacted. Pansy dove straight into the wall of fire. Purple flames swept around Pansy. The patriarch of the Parkinson family had sprung from his seat, looking at Pansy anxiously. As the flames swirled around, Pansy got through the fire wall unscathed. All smiles on his face. His eyes were full of enthusiasm. He came directly to Erwin and knelt down on one knee. He grabbed Erwin's hand and placed it on top of his head. "Sir, Pansy Parkinson, I am willing to offer my loyalty to you." Erwin was a little numb for a moment. Why did it suddenly become a gathering to recruit younger brothers? With Pansy Parkinson in front of her. In the stands, Badandulu, who had been marked by the purple lotus planted by Erwin, jumped directly into the sea of fire without any hesitation and knelt down in front of Erwin. The short staff in Yaxley's hand hit the ground heavily. "Damn asterisk 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 D. How dare he? An illegitimate child. How dare he be loyal to others? If he doesn't raise something well, his wand should be broken." Old Selwyn looked at Yaxley with a sinister look. "If you dare to touch Lord Erwin's followers, you will be the enemy of the Selwyn family." "What, do you want to be the enemy of the Selwyn family?" Yaxley said coldly. "Others are afraid of you, but I am not afraid of you. Old Selwyn, don't make a mistake. Do you know who is standing behind me? Are you looking for death?" From the other side, a voice came out. "What if you add me?" Yaxley turned to look. The person who spoke was Pansy's father, the patriarch of the Parkinson family. In fact, he didn't want to express his opinion, but he had no choice. His only daughter suddenly fell ill. In front of so many people, unless he wanted to practice trumpet and expel Pansy from the family. Otherwise, the Parkinson family and Erwin would be inseparable. Draco looked at Pansy. With some thoughts in his mind, he also wanted to rush out and pass through the wall of fire. Chapter 184. But he was a mature Draco now. He should think about his family. He can't be so reckless anymore. Therefore, he resisted the impulse in his heart, and he looked at his parents. Sure enough, he seemed to see relief and worry in the eyes his mother cast. Draco knew that he made the right choice this time, and he did not rashly drag the family into trouble. He has really grown up. And above the stands of the Malfoy couple, Narcissa wondered, why is the little dragon still standing there? He should pass through the flames and become Erwin's right-hand man. In this way, even if we are gone, Erwin can still protect him. Why? This child's so stupid. Lucius shook his head, feeling a little disappointed. He is a Death Eater, and even though he has been cleansed, the label of a Death Eater is still engraved in his bones. Although the current Dark Lord has fallen. But Lucius always felt that the Dark Lord would come back one day. He was afraid of Death Eaters, but he was even more afraid of his family being harmed. He can give everything, but nothing can happen to his family. And now there is such a good opportunity, as long as Draco can get Erwin's protection. Even if the Dark Lord did return in the future and he was forced to become a Death Eater again, Draco would be much safer under Erwin's protection than among the Death Eaters. Lucius was well aware of Erwin's weight. Although Erwin faced terrifying enemies, Lucius knew very well how much power there was behind Erwin. This energy has not been activated, but if it is activated, it will definitely subvert the magic world. For the first time, Lucius felt disgusted with his son. He was so stupid. At this moment, the ring representing the chief moved in the air. It started to float towards Erwin. In the air, two giant purple fire dragons roared twice. From the ring, a wave of magic power burst out. Standing in a stalemate with two giant dragons, Erwin frowned. "Back off." As Erwin yelled angrily, the two giant dragons spread out to both sides. The ring continued to float towards Erwin, floating in front of Erwin. Erwin held out his hand. The ring was pulled and put directly on Erwin's finger, and the space ring representing the patriarch of the Cavendi family each occupied one of Erwin's fingers. As the ring was put on Erwin's finger, a burst of magic poured into the ring on Erwin's hand from above Slytherin's dormitory castle. The next moment, Erwin felt as if there was an extra map in his mind. The map points to a place deep in the Slytherin common room. Erwin never knew there was such a room in the castle in the common room. Erwin guessed that this was the inheritance of Slytherin. As the ring was placed on Erwin's finger, Erwin officially became the head of Slytherin, the only chief. Above the stands, some small snakes passed through the wall of fire one after another and came to Erwin's side. Among the prefects of all grades, only Charlotte stood still and did not move. Erwin had a playful look on his face. Some of the little snakes standing next to Erwin also looked at Charlotte in confusion. In their opinion, Charlotte is Erwin's spokesperson. In other words, she is Erwin's woman. At this time, Charlotte didn't move. Advertisement Charlotte's face didn't look very good at this time. She didn't expect Erwin to be so skillful. This made many of her plans come to nothing. Erwin ignored her and waved the wand in his hand. Slytherin. The next moment, two purple flame dragons rose into the sky. Intertwined in the air, The two giant dragons then collided together under Erwin's guidance. The two giant dragons exploded instantly. The flames in the air condensed again, and a giant purple flame snake hovered in the air. The little wizards around Erwin also raised their wands, shouting from the mouth, "Slytherin!" Then, magic spells flew up and merged into the giant purple snake. The color of the giant snake gradually changes. Finally, a giant green snake coiled in the air. His cold eyes overlooked the entire Quidditch pitch. Some graduated Slytherin wizards also took out their wands, and streams of magic energy flowed into the giant snake. The giant snake's eyes became more and more alert. Finally, the giant snake rose into the sky. It exploded at the highest position in the sky and turned into the emblem of Slytherin. The wall of fire above the Quidditch field also dispersed. Erwin puts down his wand. All the little snakes lowered their heads towards Erwin. "Chief." Erwin nodded slightly. At this time, in the high tower of Numengard, the already old Grindelwald looked up at the sky. His brows furrowed slightly. Then, Grindelwald gently knocked on the wall of the castle. The next moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the castle. "Sir, have you thought about what to eat for dinner?" Grindelwald said. "Vinda. I feel someone using a fire shield to protect myself." French Blackrose Vinda, although already old, but the elegance and dignity in her body becomes stronger as time goes by. Winda frowned. "Fire shield? Sir, as far as I know, only you can use this spell, not even Dumbledore. Of course, you are the creator of this spell. I am not doubting your judgment." Grindelwald shook his head. "No, I won't make a mistake. I want to see him. I'm very curious. Help me find him." Winda said, "Okay, as you wish, sir. But before that, have you thought about what to eat for dinner? I need to buy it in advance, you know? Since you started your jail game, I need to prepare all the meals in advance." Grindelwald said, "It's up to you, but I want to drink a bottle of red wine. I'm in a good mood today. By the way, find me a better-looking prison uniform. This dress doesn't look good. I don't like it." Winda was helpless. "Okay, sir. I'll do it right away. However, if you can stop dressing yourself up in a miserable way, I think your aesthetic appreciation for prison uniforms will last for a while. You know, I'm almost done. Used all the colors to help you match your prison uniform." Grindelwald shook his head. "I am in jail. Prisoners should be miserable." Winda was really convinced. He didn't know how long his husband would play this jail game. Grindelwald waved his hand. "You go ahead and find 2 more books for me. The creativity of muggles is really scary. Now I feel more and more that the direction I chose may really be wrong. It's a pity that I'm old and can't find a new direction. Even if I find it, there won't be time for me to complete it." Chapter 185. Winda rolled his eyes. To be honest, if she hadn't surrendered to Grindelwald wholeheartedly, she really wanted to turn around and leave. Who knows, family members who have to accompany their husbands to play the game of going to jail every day. From time to time, I would hear my husband sigh that he should not have followers following him when he was in jail. Then when it's time to eat, you will be called over as soon as possible. We have to order food every day, and the steak needs to be medium rare. It's really hard to be a follower. Winda had a smile on his face. "Yes, sir. You are right, but I think as long as it is the path you choose, it must be the right one." Grindelwald shook his head. "No, Winda, you are wrong. Our experience tells us that we are wrong. Otherwise, we will not fail." Winda was helpless. Merlin, couldn't his husband recognize that this was a follower expressing his loyalty? And failure? If his husband hadn't asked the saint to stay and not take action, then Dumbledore would have you are on the same level as your husband. Saints flock to you, and your brains will be beaten into pieces. Winda said, "Okay, sir. You are right. Then should I go find the person who used the fire shield to protect himself now?" Grindelwald nodded. "Well, go ahead. The British wizarding world is Dumbledore's base after all. Be careful, by the way. Prepare my dinner first. A good steak can be paired with a good bottle of red wine." Winda bowed slightly. "As you wish, sir. I will prepare it." Grindelwald straightened his clothes and squatted in the corner, trying hard to make oneself a little miserable, looking like a dying prisoner. He also wiped a handful of dirt on the ground and then wiped it on his clothes. Looking at his dirty prison uniform, Grindelwald nodded with satisfaction. This is going to jail. Winda couldn't see it anymore. It was too outrageous. All of this was too outrageous. She couldn't understand why her husband, who was so good, became a little abnormal now. Is it because of old age? Speaking of which, she is getting old, but she is not sick either. Shaking his head, Wenda was too lazy to care anymore and disappeared directly into the tower room. Reappeared outside the tower. He straightened his evening gown. Wenda began to think about how to find this person. Using a fire shield to protect yourself must be a big deal in the British magic world. Wenda felt that he should buy a newspaper and first find out what was happening in the British wizarding world. After finding out, she will have to come back to take care of her husband who is in jail. On the other side, on the Quidditch field at Hogwarts, the Chief's ring has been put on Erwin's finger, which means that Slytherin's Chief Challenge is officially over. Snape floated directly down from the audience seat. I announce, the Slytherin Chief Challenge is officially over. Starting today, until someone can surpass Erwin's strength, Erwin will be the only Chief of Slytherin. If someone can get through the Prefect Challenge again in the future, they can get a chance to challenge Erwin. Snape spelled out the rules according to the script. However, this is just a rule. Defeat Erwin. Advertisement: no one in Slytherin has this strength now. When Slytherin's new students come next year, if someone wants to challenge the prefects, they won't be Erwin's opponent. Almost everyone present knew that if nothing unexpected happened, Erwin would sit in the position of chief for 7 years, and may also become the only first chief in Slytherin history. Slytherin's chief challenge is really difficult. Everyone present was generous with their applause and cheers, including young wizards from other colleges. Erwin's tyrannical strength conquered them, and the scene where Erwin used the fire shield to protect himself today will be forever engraved in the hearts of everyone present. Snape looked at Erwin. Follow me. Erwin nodded, knowing why Snape was looking for him. Let the little snakes move freely, and then Erwin followed Snape to the office. Snape closed the office door with a wave of his hand. There was some anger on his face. Erwin, you are too impulsive. Do you know what the fire shield spell means? Do you know what your performance today means? After today, you will most likely be crowned the title of Dark Lord. Allegiance to a pure-blood family. Only the Dark Lord has ever received such an honor. Erwin looked at the furious Snape. Didn't speak immediately. He needed to wait until Snape calmed down. Snape said, Answer me. Erwin, haven't you always been very eloquent? Why don't you answer my question? Erwin said, Sorry, Godfather. I'm just waiting for you to finish speaking. I know everything you said. Snape frowned. Now that you know, why do you still do this? Fire shield protection. What a brilliant magic. The only one in the entire wizarding world who is known to be able to use fire shield protection is Grindelwald. If you do this, you will make someone with a heart. Someone will label you as a disciple of Grindelwald. Erwin said, Then the Godfather doesn't think I am Grindelwald's disciple? Snape said angrily, What I am discussing with you now is not about whose disciple you are. Even if you are a disciple of the Dark Lord, as long as you don't tell me, I won't ask. I will believe you 100%. But you have to learn to hide yourself. Erwin, you are very smart. I have always known this. But why did you do such a stupid thing today? Erwin was shocked. Snape actually knew that he was Voldemort's disciple. Okay, this is a joke. Erwin said, Godfather, drink some water first. Calm down and listen to me. Snape sat on the chair. Say. Erwin looked at Snape with an angry face and sighed helplessly. My godfather's temper is too great. Erwin said, Godfather, what do you think it means to be the head of Slytherin? Snape frowned. I asked you to tell me, but I didn't ask you to ask. The corner of Erwin's mouth twitched slightly. Snape was so unreasonable. He only had to ask and answer every question to keep up with the number of words. Bah, no, it was so interactive. Erwin said, The head of Slytherin is said to be the head of students, but if we really talk about it, he is the king of Slytherin. Snape looked thoughtful. Of course he knew this. In other words, everyone knows it. The only chief of Slytherin is the king of Slytherin. All the little snakes will be convinced, even more useful than Snape if Erwin opens his mouth. This is caused by the custom of Slytherin. They worship the strong and obey the strong. Erwin is the well-deserved, strongest. Chapter 186. Erwin continued. Almost all the descendants of pure-blood families are in Slytherin, except for some pure-blood families that have disappeared from the public. This is such a huge force, and I am their leader. What I did at Hogwarts cannot be hidden. From the moment I became the head of Slytherin, my existence has been a threat to some people. Not to mention the distance, just the light. Let's talk about the Ministry of Magic. I'm still a student now, but what if it's 7 years from now? The day I graduate. I'm in the 1st grade now, and there are 7 grade snakes standing behind me. They will graduate as time goes by, waiting for me. In the 7th grade, there will be new 7th grade students to back me up. Who can ignore this power? Will the Ministry of Magic be afraid of it? In my opinion, this is the real value of the chief, which is to control these students. Snape was silent. He knew there was nothing wrong with what Erwin said. There will be new students in Slytherin, as well as students after graduation. Erwin is their chief, and even if they are not loyal to Erwin, there will always be Erwin's shadow in their hearts. Because Erwin is the strongest student in Slytherin history. In this case, Erwin wouldn't say anything but respond. At least others would give him face. And many of these Slytherin students will be the heirs of some pure-blood families in the future. If Erwin had the ability to control them, he would basically control these pure-blood families. You can see it from people like Draco and Pansy, including today's loser Glodia. This power is enough to threaten many people. Snape said, "So, you did it on purpose today?" Erwin nodded. "Yes, the moment I become the head of Slytherin, there will be restless people who will find ways to lower my reputation, such as today's exclusive interview with the Daily Prophet. I can already guess after today's exclusive interview, the reports about me will focus on two aspects. The first is that he is an ambitious young wizard, and the second is that he may become a threat to the wizarding world. Of course, they dare not speak openly about me, but hints are indispensable. If this is the case, I need to let them see my methods and tell them that I am not easy to bully. That way, I can have more time." Snape said coldly, "I will not let them attack you, Erwin. If necessary, I will kill them. Even if I am wanted by the Ministry of Magic for this, I will help you clear all obstacles." Erwin smiled and said, "I know, Godfather. I have never doubted your kindness to me. But what's the use? The power of public opinion is powerful, and the Minister of Magic is an ignorant person. He doesn't have much ability, but he values his rights very much. Anyone with a brain can imagine how terrifying I will be in the future, so he won't let me get bigger. Not to mention, I have found a like-minded pure-blood family. So, Godfather, they have to know that I am not a person who can be manipulated at will. Of course, I have to admit that what happened today exceeded my original intention. I did not expect that someone would take the initiative step through the ring of fire." Snape waved his hand. "It doesn't matter. If I follow what you just said, it won't have any impact." Erwin nodded. "Advertisement," Snape said. "By the way, what happened to Charlotte?" Erwin sneered. "A speculator has her own plans, but she didn't expect that I would use a fire shield to protect myself. She also didn't expect that I would use this kind of magic in front of everyone. If nothing else, it would be very difficult. She will come to me soon." Snape nodded. "Be careful with her. I can feel that she is not simple, but I can't tell what is going on with her. I suspect that she is from the 8th family." Erwin frowned. "What exactly are the 8 families?" "Godfather," Snape said, "now that you have become the chief, I promise to tell you some things. However, I don't know much." Erwin nodded, with some expectation in his heart. He has finally begun to understand the truth. Snape was silent for a few seconds, seeming to consider his words. After a moment, he said, "Let's start with the 8 families. In the wizarding world, there is a legend." "No, it shouldn't be a legend. It should be said to be news. A lot of people don't know about it, and it's only among a small number of people. According to the news circulating in the magic world around the world, apart from Dacia, there are many pureblood families who are also famous in the magic world. They control most of the resources in the magic world. However, what few people know is that in magic, there are 8 other families in this world. These 8 families are the oldest families, and they use lotus flowers of different colors as their family marks." As he spoke, Snape looked at the family crest ring on Erwin's hand. Erwin also lowered his head and looked over. Snape said, "And you, the Cavendi family, are one of the 8 families. Apart from Cavendi, the only other person I know who belongs to the 8 families is the Solent family." Erwin was stunned for a moment. Solent? Erwin remembered the last time he did a dream series, when the nascent soul was separated from the body. Phew, it was the dragon-riding guy he saw when his soul was roaming. He had the Blue Lotus clan emblem. Alan Solent. Snape continued. "According to what your father told me, the 8 families have their own missions, and you are partners and enemies to each other. Because, through special means, you can become the heirs of the 8 families." "What did you get?" "I don't know the specifics, and your father didn't tell you. If the 28 pureblood families are wizard families, then the 8 major families are magic families, real magic families. Each of them has mysterious abilities." Erwin frowned. "So, did my father die because of this?" Snape nodded. "About the death of your parents, it's very complicated. You know the situation at that time. The Dark Lord was raging in the magical world. Everyone was in danger. And at that time, the Dark Lord was targeting Lily. That is, your mother's best friend, Harry Potter's mother. So, in order to protect Lily and the others, the fidelity charm was used. At that time, Lily wanted to make your mother the secret keeper. However, at this time, your father discovered the Solent family. Your father could not bring danger here. So, he took your parents away, which also led to the death of Lily and the others. And your father used a very tyrannical demon to the curse seals a house, and magic cannot be used in that house. But, Chapter 187. Snape did not continue. Erwin already understood what Snape meant. His parents died at the hands of a person who had no magic power but used a powerful magic weapon. So it was unlucky at that time. His parents went to protect Lily Potter, but were targeted by the Solent family, who then took action. Snape and the others were too weak to protect him. Snape said, "It's my fault. If I had protected your parents at that time, they might not have died." Erwin waved his hand. "Godfather, I don't blame you. No one could have guessed that there would be people without magic power to attack. If you had been there at that time, without the ability to use magic power, 3 people might have died." Snape looked at Erwin. "Don't you blame me?" Erwin shook his head. He certainly didn't blame Snape. This matter has nothing to do with Snape at all. All I can say is that this is life. Erwin only looks for the culprit. However, Snape's words made Erwin think of a possibility. Isn't the timing of the Solent family's action and the timing of Voldemort's action too coincidental? Erwin asked, "Godfather, is there anything else you can tell me?" Snape thought for a moment. "What I know is very limited, but Dumbledore knows a lot. The same goes for Grindelwald. At their level, they have access to more information. If you have the opportunity, you can also ask Lucius, Draco's father. At that time, Lucius and your father had a very good relationship. Moreover, Lucius and your father visited the other 8 families. If there is any news, he should know, but he should have left now. He should not want to expose your identity. The 8 families have been passed down for too long, and now many pure-blood families in the magic world are their minions. These people, we also need to be on guard." Erwin frowned slightly. "The Yaxley family?" Snape nodded. "The Yaxley family is the loyal hyena of the Solent family. The current Yaxley clan leader can become the clan leader because of the help of the Solent family." Erwin understood. "Then there is the chicken that kills the chicken to scare the monkeys." Erwin felt too tired from all the messy conspiracies. He has a better way, which is to knock the mountain to shake the tiger, since there is a conflict of interest between them. Then the other party will not let him go. If this is the case, then Erwin only needs to wait to improve himself. When soldiers come to cover up the water and earth, let's start by cutting off the minions." Snape said, "I have told you everything I know. Erwin, be careful. The enemy you face is not simple." Erwin nodded. "I know, Godfather." Snape nodded. He wanted to help Erwin more. But unfortunately, what he knew was really limited. Or in other words, Erwin's father didn't want to implicate Snape, so he didn't tell him much at all. Therefore, Erwin's road to decryption will continue for a long time. Snape asked, "You have now obtained the Chief's Ring and the inheritance of Slytherin. Do you have a clue?" Erwin nodded. "Yes, when I got the ring, I knew there was a room deep in the common room, which should be the inheritance prepared by Slytherin. But I also explored the common room. I didn't see such a room. This is what I'm confused about." Snape frowned and said, "Hogwarts is very magical. Since the ring tells you the location, just go and have a look. You may have unexpected gains. Slytherin's inheritance is very mysterious. I don't know what it is, or rather, no one knows." Erwin nodded. "I will go later." Snape said, "Then you go to Professor McGonagall. The reporter from the Daily Prophet is waiting for you." Erwin nodded and left Snape's office. Walking towards Professor McGonagall's office. Knock on the door. Professor McGonagall and the reporter from the Daily Prophet are already waiting. Advertisement. Professor McGonagall opened the door. "Erwin, you're here." Erwin nodded. "Sorry, Professor. I went to see Professor Snape, so I'm a little late." Then, Erwin looked at the reporter. Erwin was a little surprised by the long brown hair. "Isn't she the annoying Rita Skeeter from the original novel?" The reporter stood up. "Hello, Mr. Cavendi. My name is Rigard Margaret. Nice to meet you. I am a reporter from the Daily Prophet, responsible for your exclusive interview this time." Erwin nodded. "Hello, Ms. Ligard. Nice to meet you." Rigard smiled and said, "So, shall the interview begin? Are you ready?" Erwin nodded. "Okay." Then Rigard looked at Professor McGonagall. So, Professor McGonagall, can you give us some space to be alone? Professor McGonagall nodded. Came to Erwin's side. Don't be nervous, kid. Reporter Riggard is a good one. Just answer some questions at will. Fortunately, it's not that annoying reporter who's here. Erwin knew who Professor McGonagall was talking about. In fact, it is really hard for people to like the Beetle reporter, especially since the last time he reported on Ron at Hogwarts, he criticized Hogwarts and Ron to gain attention, which made Professor McGonagall even more angry. The interview was actually very simple. Riggard was not a Beetle reporter, and most of the questions he asked were related to the theory of transfiguration proposed by Erwin. He occasionally asked Erwin about his thoughts after becoming chief, but he did not want to delve into many questions. This surprised Erwin. Could it be that he was mistaken? The Daily Prophet didn't come here to damage his reputation this time? At this moment, Erwin suddenly saw a beetle on the armrest of the chair, which seemed to be integrated into the armrest of the chair. Erwin's heart moved. It turns out that this is the case. It seems that Professor McGonagall hates Rita and also knows that the Beetle reporter likes to write randomly. So I don't know what method was used to change the reporter doing the exclusive interview. This Beetle reporter can only secretly collect some information. The interview ended soon. Riggard stood up. Thank you for your answer, Mr. Cavendi. I will report it truthfully. Today's battle was exciting. Erwin smiled. Thank you for your appreciation. Richard packed his things and prepared to leave. At the same time, the beetle also flew up and was about to land on Riggard's back. Erwin had quick eyesight and quick hands. He waved his palm and the beetle was directly slapped back. Riggard glanced at Erwin in confusion. What's wrong? Erwin shook his head. Nothing. Riggard turned around and left without asking any further questions. The moment the office door closed, Erwin took out a glass jar from the space ring and put the dizzy beetles on the ground directly into it. I've got you, my wizard. Chapter 188. Erwin shook the jar in his hand slightly. The beetle inside was still dizzy. It can be seen that with this kind of body shape, you should be dizzy for a while. This was something Erwin had to hold on to, otherwise, he might have been slapped to death. Therefore, the effect of Animagus is actually not that good. When transforming, it also means that it will possess some of the weaknesses of the transformed creature, such as the tiny size of insects. Having said that, Erwin suddenly had an idea in his mind. Professor McGonagall, would he like catnip very much? Thinking of this, Erwin quickly shook his head to get rid of these messy thoughts in his mind. It's a turn of events for Tiangang. He's actually starting to plot against Professor McGonagall now. At this moment, the office door opened again. Professor McGonagall walked in. Erwin calmly put the can in his pocket. Professor McGonagall didn't notice his actions and asked, "How's it going, Erwin? The reporter didn't make things difficult for you, right?" Erwin shook his head. "No, Professor. He just asked me some very basic questions, very relaxed." Professor McGonagall nodded. "That's good. There's nothing else to do. You can go back and rest. I haven't congratulated you yet, Erwin. Congratulations on becoming the Chief of Slytherin. The position of Chief of Slytherin is vacant. After a long time, as the first headmaster, and possibly the only headmaster, I believe you can make Slytherin better. Of course, Slytherin now is completely different from before. This is all your credit." Erwin said, "Thank you for your praise. The 4 major colleges are on the same page and are all part of Hogwarts. I only played a small role in helping, and it is mainly due to the efforts of the professors." Professor McGonagall said with a smile, "Well, you child is just too humble. Although this is a virtue, you also need to be appropriately proud. Children of your age are too humble and seem to have no motivation." Erwin nodded. "I understand, Professor. I will keep your teachings in mind." Professor McGonagall waved her hand. "Then you can go and rest. By the way, I will take you out of Hogwarts on Christmas Eve to receive the Medal of the Knights of Merlin." Erwin nodded. "Okay, Professor. I'll leave first." After Erwin left, Professor McGonagall sat back at the table and looked at the new transfiguration technique on the table. He said to himself, how could such an outstanding child be a disciple of Grindelwald? How could he affect the stability of the magical world? People from the Ministry of Magic know how to exaggerate the facts. While talking, Professor McGonagall tore up the unopened letter and threw it away. There is a logo on the torn envelope, which is the logo of the Ministry of Magic. After returning to the Slytherin common room, a group of little wizards gathered together, waiting for Erwin. Seeing Erwin coming back, everyone stood up quickly. "Chief." Erwin nodded. "Everyone sit down." All the little wizards sat down quietly, waiting for Erwin to lecture. "Advertisement," Erwin said. Although I have become the chief, I will not interfere too much with you. Slytherin's rules of hidden prefects will continue to be maintained. All hidden prefects are responsible for their respective grades, and there are things that cannot be solved. The hidden prefects of each grade can come to me. In addition, the hidden prefects of the first grade need to be reselected. Grodya. Grodya stood up, sir. Erwin said, the selection of hidden prefects for the first grade will be left to you. Select a new hidden prefect. Grodya nodded. Okay, sir, I will arrange it. Erwin waved his hand. I'm going to take a rest. You can make your own arrangements. All the little snakes stood up and nodded slightly. Watch Erwin go upstairs. Come to the door of your dormitory. Erwin opened the door, and there was a figure standing next to the table in the room. It seems that I have been waiting for a while. The person coming was none other than Charlotte. Erwin ignored her and came to the table and threw the jar on the table. Then, I want to wash my face. Charlotte also stood quietly and did not speak to disturb Erwin. After cleaning himself up, Erwin came to Charlotte's side. I'm surprised that you still dare to show up here. Is it because you have the confidence to escape from me, or do you think I won't do anything to you? Charlotte said, Chief, I don't know what you mean. I'm just here to explain why I didn't pass through the firewall. Erwin smiled. Oh, interesting. Let's talk about it then. Charlotte said, You know, I am not from a pure-blood family, so I don't know your magic. When I found out later, it was already too late. Erwin nodded. Well, that's a reasonable statement. Charlotte breathed a subtle sigh of relief. However, at this moment, a cold object was suddenly pressed against her throat. Charlotte felt cold sweat break out on her back. Looking down, he saw a flash of silvery white, which was Erwin's wand. Charlotte didn't dare to move. Chief, don't you believe me? Erwin smiled and said, Charlotte, do you really think I'm stupid? I don't know Fire Shield. If it were someone else, I might really believe it. After all, Grindelwald's age is too old. It's been a long time. But you, Charlotte, is your strength really as simple as it seems? Although I disdain the bloodline theory in the wizarding world, I have to admit that children from wizarding families do have to they are better than those from muggle families. They are more likely to be exposed to advanced magic and can get instruction even on vacation. But even so, those little wizards from pure-blood families are not as good as you. Muggle families a wizard? Charlotte, do you think you can believe what you say? Charlotte said, There is no shortage of geniuses in this world, right? Although I am a little arrogant, even the chief has to admit that I can indeed be classified as a genius. Erwin poked the wand forward. Charlotte's throat was dented by the wand. The pain caused Charlotte's expression to change slightly. Erwin said, Why, there will always be smart people in this world. Charlotte, you think you are smart, right? You are the first one to wake me up every day, and you are always by my side. There are many things I will also tell you to do it. You have successfully created the image of yourself as my confidant. No, to be precise, you have created the image of a mistress for yourself. Do you think that at my age, I am not interested in this kind of thing? A half-informed person. Chapter 189. Under your subtle influence, everyone has unconsciously accepted a setting created by you. You are my person. Or in other words, you are my girlfriend? I have to say that you did. You are good at calculating. When the prefect challenges you, you accept it as soon as possible. Let others see that you are strong and at the same time, you can also give me a face. According to the theory of the strong, everyone will follow me by default. The people around you must also be the strongest. After that, you challenge the twin brothers of the Weasley family again, and leave an image in front of everyone that you are determined to protect me. Confirm your identity as my spokesperson. You know that I am young, although I ask myself my brain is very good, and I will find clues about ordinary conspiracies here, so you might as well find what you think is my weakest point, and that is my age. No matter how smart I am still very weak after all. I know very little about men and women, so you seized on this weakness that you thought was mine and started to create your own personality. Charlotte, you are really smart. To be honest, Charlotte's plan is really good. There is a saying that goes well, men conquer the world, and women can also achieve the feat of conquering the world by conquering men. Give a simple example. Two people, Wu Zetian and Catherine. They are all women, and to achieve such great achievements in the end, they also needed the care of those in power at the beginning. This is the path Charlotte took, if she established this person. In the future, no matter how many achievements Erwin achieves or how many supporters he gets, these people will always take orders from Charlotte. Because in their view, Charlotte is Erwin's spokesperson, everything is said by Erwin, and Charlotte is just an executor and messenger. This is called conspiracy. To put it bluntly, Erwin would die one day. Charlotte can directly absorb Erwin's power and does many things under the pretext of avenging Erwin. After Erwin finished speaking, the expression on Charlotte's face was dull. The expression of reverence that he had always pretended to be gone was gone. Charlotte said, I have overestimated you as much as possible, but I still underestimated you. Erwin, you are really amazing. I lost. Erwin said, so, are you planning to reveal your true identity? Charlotte smiled and said, you are so smart. Why don't you try to guess? Erwin's wand gently lifted Charlotte's chin. Interesting, you said that. I really want to take a guess. In fact, if it were before today, I might not be sure of your identity, but by coincidence, I learned about the 8 families today. Matter. Charlotte's pupil shrank slightly. Erwin noticed this detail. Advertisement, I understand in my heart. Then, the wand in his hand touched Charlotte's shoulder directly. Then, the magic power turned into a sharp blade. Charlotte's wizard robe was cut open, revealing Charlotte's shoulders. Charlotte had no idea of resistance and just stood there quietly. Erwin looked at Charlotte's shoulder, and sure enough, there was a red lotus mark there. Erwin said, it seems that your identity has been revealed. Charlotte said, I'm curious, how did you know? Erwin said, what? Your lotus mark? Don't get me wrong, I didn't peek at your thoughts. It's because of yourself. It's because you are too cautious. You want to increase your weight in my heart, but when you haven't settled everything, you have to make sure that no one will affect my judgment of you. At this time, you discovered Hermione, and you couldn't figure out what the relationship between Hermione and me was. But I am very friendly to Hermione. You think this is unreasonable. After all, you should be able to understand some of my character. I value interests very seriously. Hermione's appearance surprised you. You couldn't find out our relationship in the Muggle world, but looking at my attitude towards Hermione, you think Hermione should be a very important person to me. Don't you dare to bet on Hermione will be the key to disrupting your plan? After all, if the relationship between me and Hermione is what you think it is, Hermione only needs to say something to me, and your efforts will be wasted. In this case, you need to pull Hermione into your camp. You know very well that Hermione likes me. If you want to create a character, it will definitely arouse Hermione's disgust. So you chose to talk to Hermione, make friends. It's funny to say that you took Hermione to the bathroom dedicated to Slytherin prefects, and Hermione discovered the red lotus on your shoulder. Sometimes, I really don't know how to call you smart, still stupid. Charlotte clenched her fists slightly. She didn't expect to be exposed in this situation. Of course he knew about the red lotus on his shoulder, but she felt that this kind of thing would not attract Hermione's attention. Charlotte frowned. Did you plan your kindness towards Hermione from the beginning? Or, in other words, Hermione has been yours since before she entered school? Erwin shook his head. Don't think too much of me. I can't figure it out. Hermione's words are actually one of my pleasures. I want to see if I can find different pleasures. What's next? Hermione is also a talent, and I have always cherished talents. Of course, Hermione's biggest role is actually another one. That is, he is a weakness that I deliberately brought out. Charlotte thought for a moment, then a look of horror appeared on her face. I see. You did it on purpose. You deliberately let everyone think that you care about Hermione, so that he is your apparent weakness. Everyone knows that people without weaknesses are the most terrifying, and you have a weakness, others will relax their vigilance, and even if they want to deal with you, they will attack your weaknesses first. You are creating a shield for yourself, or in other words, all Slytherin students are your shield. You are so cruel. Erwin waved his hand. This is not cruel, it is just some protection. If I am strong enough, I will naturally protect them. Well, chatting with you is quite interesting. I have been holding back for too long and I need to find someone. Let's listen and chat to vent. Now that I'm done venting, it's time for me to send you on your way. Charlotte said, Are you so sure you can kill me? Erwin, you know nothing about the 8 families. As she spoke, the magic power in Charlotte's body suddenly burst out. Erwin watched calmly, with no trace of panic on his face. After a moment, Charlotte's magic power shrank strangely. Charlotte's face turned ugly instantly. What have you done? Why can't my magic power be mobilized? Chapter 190. Erwin did not answer Charlotte. Instead, he came to the table nearby and picked up a crystal bottle. There is purple liquid in the crystal bottle. Erwin shook slightly. The purple liquid is sloshing in the bottle, and the strange purple color has a different kind of beauty. Erwin smelled the bottle. The smell of lavender, my favorite smell. Produced by Professor Snape, Sometimes even I have to admire Professor Snape's taste. Charlotte looked at the crystal bottle in Erwin's hand. You poison me? Erwin shook his head. No, it's not that I poisoned you, but that you are too greedy. Even before I didn't know your identity, I was always on guard against you. How could I not notice it? Is there a potion missing from my room? Charlotte's eyes widened. Did you prepare that bottle of potion on purpose? Just to plot against me? Erwin said, No, that's not prepared for you. It's just that Professor Snape brewed an extra bottle and asked me to keep it as a spare. But I didn't expect that you want to know my magic power so much. Secret, you drank it directly. To be honest, I was quite surprised. Your potion is just a bottle of vitality potion. You should have noticed that, but there are some ingredients added to it to make these ingredients work. I have this bottle of stuff in my hand. You said that Si Jiao is really a genius, right? Charlotte's face was livid, and she said nothing. Erwin smiled and said, Don't bother. According to the teachings, this kind of material will make your magic unable to operate for at least 2 hours. Unless you reach the level of Dumbledore Grindelwald, otherwise, you will not be spared. You are quite strong. You should be as good as Grodia, but unfortunately, you are still not as good as Dumbledore. Charlotte felt the magic in her body that was like stagnant water. Despair in my heart. Erwin flicked the wand in his hand. Then, it's time to hit the road. As he spoke, Erwin planned to kill him directly. Charlotte saw this and said quickly, Wait a minute, I am still useful to you. I know a lot of things. Regarding the 8 major families, Snape will not know too much. Except for the people of the 8 major families, no one I can tell you if I know the specific things. Moreover, I will not pose a threat to you. I just want to use your power to take revenge, that's all. I have no other ideas. Erwin said, I really want to know, but I also understand that you will not tell me the truth. The truth will come to me one day. You are of no use to me. Charlotte became even more anxious after hearing this. Wait a minute, Erwin. Give me a chance. I can help you. I am willing to tell you everything. I have what you need in my hands. I can tell you how to activate your bloodline. Don't you want to activate your bloodline? After hearing this, Erwin paused in his movements. Charlotte struck while the iron was hot and said quickly, I know how to activate your Dragon Whisperer bloodline. I can also help you. I can let you activate your bloodline. I know you have the means to control people, just like you used it on Bedundu. It's the same ability that Lu has on him, similar to the ability of the Dark Mark. You can use it on me. Believe me, I will be of great help to you while I'm alive. I know many things that others can't possibly know. Erwin held the wand in one hand and tapped it gently in the palm of his other hand. It piques my interest, so stretch out your arm. Advertisement. Charlotte stretched out her arm in front of Erwin without any hesitation. Erwin's wand touched Charlotte's arm. The purple lotus mark slowly appeared. Soon, the purple lotus mark was successfully branded. During this period, Charlotte did not move at all until the purple lotus mark was completely imprinted. Erwin was relieved. The purple lotus mark was very mysterious, but if you wanted to use it, you needed the opponent to not resist. But as long as the purple lotus mark is planted, Charlotte's life and death will depend on Erwin's thoughts. The magic power in Erwin's body trembled slightly. The next moment, Charlotte felt a heartbreaking pain. He wailed and collapsed on the ground. The pain disappeared quickly. Erwin said, I have always felt that if you say it 10,000 times, it is better to try it yourself. Just now, it was the effect of the purple lotus mark. I can bring you pain, and similarly, I can also bring you death. If you want to get rid of it, you have only one way to commit suicide. Charlotte knelt on the ground, horrified by Erwin's methods. Sir, I am willing to offer my loyalty. Erwin nodded. Very good. I know you won't give in. It doesn't matter. You can try to find a way to solve this purple lotus mark, but I have to tell you, be careful when you try. If you trigger, I have found some special places in the purple lotus mark. If you die, you can't blame me. After hearing these words, the thoughts that had just arisen in Charlotte's heart were instantly extinguished. Charlotte said, I can't do that, sir. I am willing to surrender and be loyal to you. Erwin said, Then, say everything you need to say. Let's start with yourself. Charlotte said, I come from the Teresa family, one of the 8 families, one of the top 4 families. Erwin asked in confusion, For houses? Charlotte nodded. Actually, it is 8 families. Rather, it is 4 families, namely Cavendi, Teresa, Alva, and Dimos. Erwin frowned slightly, but did not immediately ask a question, but continued to wait for Charlotte's next words. Charlotte said, Over the long years, the 4 major families have developed and multiplied. extending into 4 affiliated families: Solent, Conrad, Simpson, and Stewart. And these 4 families are called the lower 4 families, and they are also used to serve the upper 4 families, or in other words, they are the thugs and bodyguards of the upper 4 families. Among them, Solent serves the Teresa family, Conrad serves the Alva family, Simpson serves the Demos family, and the last Stewart serves your Cavendi family. Erwin sorted out the relationship between the characters and had an idea in his mind. Erwin asked, "What is the purpose of the existence of the upper 4 families?" Charlotte said, "Merlin." In other words, for the title of Merlin, when Merlin disappeared, he found 4 children. These 4 children are the ancestors of the 4 families. Merlin distributed his talent as a dragon whisperer to let the 4 of them grow up. Tell them that only the strongest person who fully activates the dragon whisperer's talent bloodline can become the new Merlin. Chapter 191. Erwin listened to Charlotte's words and felt something familiar inexplicably. What exactly is this dragon whisperer's bloodline talent? Charlotte said, "This is Merlin's blood talent." In Merlin's time, wizards were considered unlucky, so as long as a wizard was discovered, they would be tied to the stake. King Uther, the man in power at the time, was infertile because of his infertility. After launching a coup to seize state power, he used ancient magic to make a deal with the gods, hoping that the gods would give him a child. However, although ancient magic is magical, it has many restrictions. For example, if you gain something, you must lose something. When King Uther got a new life, the gods also took away the life of his wife Igraine. Therefore, King Uther hated magic and strictly prohibited his country from allowing any magic, otherwise he will die. At that time, Merlin was just a magic apprentice. By chance, he met the last giant dragon in the world, and also learned about his talent as a dragon master. He could use dragon language, and he could use the dragon language he used. The magic of the dragon. Later, he divided his bloodline into 4, which was the talent of the dragon speaker of the 4 families. According to the information left by Merlin, the bloodline of the dragon speaker was divided into 4, and each had its own magical effect. If the 4 kinds of the bloodline fusion is activated through special means, you can get the complete dragon-controlling bloodline. Erwin understood. No wonder he found this setting so familiar. Isn't this the setting of Merlin's legend? Merlin, the Dragon Master, is the last Dragon Master in the world, and the dragons in that setting are completely different from the dragons now. Today's dragons have no other advantages besides being able to breathe fire and have a powerful body. But the giant dragons of that era could use dragon magic. Dragon magic can destroy the world and destroy the world. It is a truly tyrannical magic. He is also the darling of the world, unparalleled in power. Time has passed so long that Erwin can't remember many details. It seems that this Dragon Master's talent has some other settings. But Erwin forgot. Erwin asked, "Did you just say that the blood of the 4 families is one?" Charlotte nodded. "Yes, only the selected heirs of the 4 families will have the blood of the dragon speaker, and the 4 bloodlines of the dragon speaker can devour each other through some specific means and the eternal ceremony." Erwin said, "So, the reason why you are by my side is to devour my blood?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. "No, my blood has been devoured." Erwin was slightly shocked. "Has it been swallowed up? Is it Alva or Deimos who did it?" Charlotte shook her head. "No, it's Solent." Erwin frowned. "Didn't you say that the lower 4 are thugs supported by the upper 4? Why can he swallow your blood? Are you still hiding it now?" Looking at the unhappy look on Erwin's face, Charlotte quickly knelt down on one knee. "My lord, I'm not hiding anything. What I said is true. The Solent family are despicable bastards and thieves. They don't know where they got their weird methods. When the Teresa family went to war with the Deimos family, they took action behind the scenes and destroyed the Teresa family and took away the power of my blood. If the Teresa family had not had some means to send me away to England, I'm dead too." Erwin looked at Charlotte and felt that Charlotte's tone was not fake. "So, what you are saying is that your Teresa family has been counterattacked by your slaves." Charlotte's face was full of humiliation, but in fact it was so. Erwin became interested. "This is quite interesting. My own slaves are not managed well, and they backfire on their masters. Do the other 4 families have this trick?" Advertisement. Charlotte shook her head. "Probably not. The successor of the Solent family is a very ambitious person. He is obsessed with ancient magic. So he is also one of the few people in this era who has the talent for ancient magic to be able to follow the person who made a deal with the gods. His method should have come from trading with the gods through ancient magic." Erwin thought for a moment. Ancient magic talent? He seems to have this thing, but he has not unlocked it. So is this talent the ability to make deals with the so-called gods? It seems to be quite fun. Erwin asked, so, the last question. Why did Merlin leave the inheritance of these 4 families, and what is his purpose? Charlotte shook her head. I don't know, Merlin never said it, and there is no record in the family. I only know that this is related to a very important thing, but no one knows the specific situation. If someone can obtain the title of Merlin, it should be you can know the truth. Erwin understood. It seemed that it was another decryption process. However, Charlotte revealed a lot of news today. Erwin was quite satisfied. At least he now had answers to many things that Erwin couldn't figure out. The worst part is that Erwin knows who his enemy is. Except for Teresa, who has been betrayed by her slaves. The Solent, Alva, and Deimos families are all Erwin's enemies. And this enemy exists passively. It's not a matter of whether Erwin wants to provoke it or not. With this bloodline alive, they would take the initiative to cause trouble for Erwin. Similarly, the next 4 families are also Erwin's hidden enemies. The Solent family can obtain the means to devour the Lord, who knows if they can also obtain it. Therefore, Erwin cannot take it lightly when it comes to several other families. Erwin found out strangely that 2 days ago, he felt that everyone under his eyes was friendly forces. How come there were so many enemies in the blink of an eye? I'm convinced too. Erwin said, by the way, you just said that the Dragon Whisperer bloodline has different talents? What is that? Charlotte said, the talent of the Dragon Whisperer is kept secret, and those who have the talent will not reveal it. I only know that the talent of our Teresa family is a contract. We can sign a contract with the dragon and let the dragon become our fighting partners. Of course, these are today's dragons, not those ancient dragons. Erwin thought of the man riding a dragon that he had seen in his dream. So, is this a gift from Charlotte? Erwin said, how much do you know about the other 2 families? Charlotte said, the Alva family is very mysterious. Their inheritors rarely appear. Historically, their inheritors seem to have no idea about devouring the blood of other dragon whisperers. Other families can't find them either. As for the Timos family... Chapter 192. Charlotte paused. What's wrong? Erwin wondered. Charlotte said, as for the Timos family, I can only say that they are very powerful. The Alva family cannot escape from the world, and your Cavendi family has encountered a disaster. The most active person in the magic world is our Teresa. And Deimos. When our Teresa family was at its peak, we controlled many pure-blood families, and although the strongest person in our family was not as good as Dumbledore, he could still fight with Dumbledore. Let's just say that the Dark Lord who was rampant in the British magic world, if we had taken action at that time, he would have been dead long ago, and the Deimos family is stronger than our family. I don't know the trump card of the Deimos family, but I know it yes. The current heir of the Timos family has been to Dacia in his early years, and he learned many weird methods from Dacia. Erwin asked in confusion, Dacia? How much do you know about the magic world in Dacia? Charlotte said, the magic world of Dacia should be the strongest force in the world, but many years ago, it was also the most dangerous time of Dacia. At that time, something big seemed to have happened in the magic world of Dacia. Specifically, no one knows what it is. Therefore, those powerful people in the magic world of Dacia were trapped, which also caused Dacia to fall into crisis, allowing others to take advantage of it. After that, the magic world of Dacia was after a complete reshuffle. Many tyrannical methods have been lost. Although the current Dacia magic world is still very strong, it is not as strong as when they were at their peak. Even so, Dacia is still the most powerful. And Demo this generation of C went to Dacia in the early years and spent a lot of effort before returning with some basic knowledge from Dacia. Although he learned very little, he was still terrifyingly strong. When our 2 families were fighting, my father controls the dragon, but he is still no match for him. Erwin's heart trembled. Is it so outrageous? Fighting a wizard and a dragon with human power? Erwin didn't need to ask how strong Charlotte's father was. To be the head of such a family, at least he would not be weaker than Snape. Can you beat a Snape and a dragon just by relying on what you learned from Dacia? Anyway, Erwin asked himself that he couldn't achieve this level of strength. It seems necessary to find a place to store 2 big flying toys. Otherwise, there is really no sense of security. Erwin asked, now let's talk about bloodline. Do you think you know how to activate my bloodline? Charlotte nodded. Yes, the power of the Dragon Whisperer's blood is usually hidden. Every direct relative of the 4 families will gain the power of the Dragon Whisperer's blood. Depending on the concentration of the blood, There will be a special the detection method. From among the children of the same generation, the person with the purest blood concentration will be selected and will be established as the heir of the family. This is what I am. Among my contemporaries, my blood concentration is the highest, so I will being targeted by Solent. However, as far as I know, the Cavendi family is different. The Cavendi family pursues the concept of a single generation. They will only have one child in each generation, and this child will be the oldest in the family. Rich people. There will be less disputes. Erwin nodded. Then how to activate the bloodline? Charlotte said, you need a spell, the key to unlock the bloodline. Then the bloodline of the person being cursed will start to activate automatically. When the wizard is 13 years old, the bloodline ability will be fully activated. The spell is the manifestation of the bloodline and the gesture of casting the spell. I can give it to you now. As she spoke, Charlotte pulled out her wand, and the wand drew a trace of a six-pointed star in midair. Sir, this is a spell-casting technique and a magic spell. You can use it on yourself. Erwin nodded. There was no more news from Charlotte. He had already told Erwin everything he knew, and Erwin had no intention of continuing the conversation with Charlotte. After sending Charlotte away, Erwin began to sort out all the information he had obtained. From Charlotte, the first stage of his decryption game has been completed. I have to say, Erwin was quite shocked. Erwin didn't expect that there would be Merlin legend trespassing here. Advertisement. The most important thing is that Erwin finally knows what crisis he is facing. I have to say that these so-called top 4 companies really made Erwin feel a sense of crisis. The Solent family, the Demosa family, and the Hidden Alva family. Erwin doesn't even have the ability to fight against them now. The most urgent task now is to become stronger. Thinking of this, Erwin used his wand to try the spell Charlotte just said. The bloodline appears. Erwin's spell exited, and Erwin's magic was extracted from the wand, forming a six-pointed star in the sky. Then, the six-pointed star flew into Erwin's body. 1 second, 2 seconds. Half a minute passed. All was calm. Erwin frowned. Why didn't it work? Erwin was very confused. Charlotte could not lie to him. Whether it's because of the purple lotus mark or Charlotte's purpose. Now if Charlotte wants revenge, she can only rely on Erwin. No one can help her except Erwin. So Erwin becoming stronger will be helpful to Charlotte no matter what. But why doesn't this spell work? At this moment, Erwin's head was hidden in the crown. Ravenclaw's figure slowly condensed in front of Erwin's eyes. Looking at the wand in Erwin's hand, Ravenclaw smiled and said, Little guy, are you activating your Dragon Whisperer bloodline? Erwin nodded. Yeah, but I don't know why it's useless. Ravenclaw said, In fact, I should be able to help you solve this problem. Erwin's eyes lit up. Your Majesty, please teach me. Ravenclaw said, There is a seal in your body. If nothing else, it should have been set by your father or mother. This seal will block the power of your bloodline. Erwin frowned. Seal? Ravenclaw nodded. Well, I also know about the upper 4 families and the lower 4 families. I also heard what the little girl just said. If you think of your life experience, your seal is probably your parents set it up to protect you. This should be the reason why you have survived until now, and no one has taken action against you. Of course, your godfather and others should also be involved in it. Otherwise, you would have died long ago. As for your seal, in fact, the effect is very simple. It is to seal the power of your bloodline. As long as this seal is there, others cannot swallow the power of your bloodline. If there is no external influence, this seal should last until you die of old age. Your bloodline cannot be activated. You can't devour it, and naturally, people from the other 4 families can't attack you either. Chapter 193. However, your seal is a bit interesting. The person who set the seal for you is also a ruthless person. He has completely blocked the power of your bloodline. Even if you have children in the future, no one will be able to inherit your bloodline. In other words, the person who set up this seal forced the upper 4 families to become the upper 3 families, and the blood of the Dragon Master will completely disappear with your death. The other families should have noticed it, so they won't take action against you until they find a way, because if the Dragon Master's bloodline disappears, no matter how many fights they fight, it will be in vain, because the bloodline will never be perfected. Erwin realized clearly in his heart that this must be the amulet left by his parents for him. It would be better to be in pieces than in ruins, if those families really take action against Erwin. On the day Erwin dies, the Dragon Master's bloodline will be completely missing a piece of the puzzle. Therefore, these families are now riding a tiger with difficulty. They wanted Erwin's life, but they didn't dare to kill Erwin. They had to protect Erwin. At least they couldn't let Erwin die before they found a solution. Erwin recalled the last attack on Hogwarts. It seemed that the other party wanted to capture him rather than kill him. Is this a gift left by your parents? Ravenclaw said. I have to say that the person who left the seal on you is indeed very smart. He forced several other families to be your bodyguards. However, the only flaw in your seal is that he is from the outside. It is indestructible, but it can be broken through from the inside. In other words, your magic power has torn a small opening in this seal. Now this seal is slowly disappearing. I estimate that this seal will disappear in up to 2 years. It stands to reason that the person who left the seal on you would avoid this possibility. Erwin listened to Ravenclaw's words. An idea suddenly came to my mind. According to Ravenclaw, his parents left this seal, and from Snape's words, Erwin also knew that his parents did not intend to let him enter the magical world. Therefore, this is the backup left by his parents. As long as he does not enter the magic world, there will be no problem with the seal. Then I think about the words that my parents once left me to live with the inheritance and stay away from right and wrong. Erwin had a guess in his mind. My parents initially planned to let me keep the inheritance, live a rich life, and then just lie down and be done with it. But he was obsessed with finding out the truth behind his parents' death, so he took over the family business. In the crisis, the magic bursts out and tears the seal. This caused his seal to begin to break and his magic power to appear. But there are still 2 points that don't make sense. The first is that Erwin's magic burst out during the crisis. Erwin experienced it more than once. Erwin also attributed it to his own special powers. This is obviously unreasonable. Another point, your own notice. Erwin asked Snape that admissions to Hogwarts are run independently by Hogwarts. He will give a list, and all the little wizards with magic are on the list. Advertisement, then the school will contact these little wizards and ask them to enroll. But Erwin's name was not on the list at first, until the notice for Hogwarts had basically been sent out. Erwin's name suddenly appeared on the list, so Dumbledore went to find Erwin himself. I took Erwin to enroll because there were no professors who could enroll new students at that time. From this point of view, it seems that his entry into Hogwarts was also arranged. Is it man-made? If it is man-made, what is the purpose of this person? Now it seems that there is no harm to him. After the seal is broken, Erwin needs to become stronger to deal with the crisis. Hogwarts is undoubtedly the best place to become stronger. But this feeling of being arranged is really not good, especially when Erwin didn't know who was behind it. Erwin thought to himself, could it be Dumbledore? Erwin already knows that Dumbledore has inherited Gryffindor, so he should be able to influence Hogwarts admissions. If it was Dumbledore, what was his purpose? In order to protect himself, or rather, he wanted Erwin to enter Hogwarts and become a thug, or Harry Potter's bodyguard. Erwin was a little unsure. He felt that his head was starting to hurt, as if he was about to grow a brain. Shaking his head, Erwin was too lazy to think about it. He couldn't figure it out anymore. According to Dumbledore's character, even if he really had any plans, Erwin wouldn't get an answer if he asked. As for other ways to find out, Erwin could only think of Snape. If Snape knew, he would have told him long ago. Erwin looked at Ravenclaw and asked, Your Majesty, you just said that this seal will be lifted by itself. Will I activate the bloodline then? Ravenclaw shook his head. This spell is of no use to you. Erwin, the power of blood in your body is very strong. The power of blood will pass away. As time goes by, with the passing of generations, it is not certain how much bloodline power you can get through inheritance. But you are different. Your bloodline power is as if it was given by Merlin himself, just like the 4 children back then. Your family ancestors are just as rich, so you don't need to be activated. After the seal is completely lifted, the power of your bloodline will be activated directly. Erwin said, Will this seal be lifted faster as I get stronger? Your Majesty, you know that my current strength should not be enough to cope with the crisis I am about to face. So, I need time. A look of appreciation appeared on Ravenclaw's face. I thought you would be eager to unlock your seal and go have a big fight. Erwin said, Your Majesty, I still have self-awareness. This seal can help me buy time to develop. I am not a fool. Ravenclaw smiled and said, Don't worry. Your seal will not increase or slow down because of you. It may take more than a year, maybe 2 years, and the seal will disappear automatically. You also have a year to guarantee it. Erwin was slightly relieved. In 1 year, if he speeded up, he should be able to start to implement some of his preparations. By then, even if he is not the opponent of those people, he should be able to protect himself. Ravenclaw said, Okay, I've told you everything I know. Little guy, you now have the inheritance of Slytherin. Friendly reminder, You'd better wait until after midnight before going exploring. That way, there will be different gains. I'm going to take a rest. See you in the evening, little guy. Chapter 194. After saying that, Ravenclaw turned into a sky full of stars and poured into the crown on Erwin's head. Erwin rolled his eyes. Why is he being used as a hotel? But Erwin had no choice. What could he do? You can't beat it, you can't do anything, you can only passively endure it. But what does Ravenclaw mean when they say there will be surprises if you go at night? Erwin didn't understand, but Erwin chose to believe Ravenclaw. After all, this old ghost knows a lot. Erwin is a very sensible person, and he is not as obedient as others. Erwin has always done this well. He is very obedient. Next, it's time to address another matter. Erwin turned his head and focused his gaze on the jar on the table. There is also a beetle reporter here. At this time, beetle reporter Rita was stunned. He watched the complete conversation between Charlotte and Erwin in the jar, as well as the subsequent appearance of Ravenclaw. She knew Ravenclaw. After all, she was also a Ravenclaw graduate. For Ravenclaw students, what they are most familiar with is the appearance of Ravenclaw. After all, you can see the statue every day you enter. Erwin estimated that they could all dream about Ravenclaw. Therefore, the moment Ravenclaw appeared, Rita already knew Ravenclaw's identity. This is what makes her so scary. Ravenclaw is still alive? This was simply big news, but she, who was keen on big news, didn't feel the slightest bit excited at this time. On the contrary, I felt cold all over my body. She knew too many of Erwin's secrets. She just saw Erwin facing Charlotte, and she knew that Erwin would never let him go. Erwin was ruthless, and only at this moment did Rita realize this. She also knew that everyone in the wizarding world had misjudged Erwin. Under Erwin's conscious operation, Erwin is now known in the magical world as a poor genius wizard whose parents both died. Even Rita thought so. Of course, after the fire shield incident was exposed today, there will be another story. However, thanks to Erwin's early preparations, even if his fire shield was exposed today, at least it would not cause too much damage to his character. At least among ordinary wizards, Erwin would not be directly tied to the villain's camp. The truth is in the hands of a few people. There is no doubt that those pure-blood families and those in power in the magical world are a minority. They could see how dangerous Erwin was, but it didn't matter. Advertisement Erwin did not include pure-blood families in his consideration from the beginning. What he wanted was to deceive ordinary wizards. After all, ordinary people will always be the majority in this world. Erwin came to the table, picked up the jar, and shook it slightly. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Rita Skeeter, what should I do with you? I heard that if an animagus is killed in a transformed state, it will directly return to human form. I always think the statement may be wrong. After all, I have not seen the facts, so I want to try, but I am very kind. I can let you choose a way to die. So, tell me, Rita Skeeter, do you want to die? Under what spell? But you'd better choose a simple one, such as the death curse. After all, I'm still a first-year freshman, and I haven't learned many spells yet. In the jar, Rita Skeeter panicked. The wings flapped constantly. No, don't kill me. Please, I won't tell anyone what happened today, I swear. Erwin smiled. Your oath is worthless to me. Only the dead can keep secrets. It seems that you don't want to choose the spell yourself, so I will choose it for you. How about the blazing flames? Maybe you have the blood of the phoenix in your body, and the blazing flames can help you activate your blood. Then you will be a blessing in disguise. Yes, that's it. Don't thank me. You deserve it. As he spoke, the wand in Erwin's hand casually swiped across the jar. Looking at the silver-white wand, Rita became even more panicked. She had never felt death so close to him. Rita quickly shouted, No, please, no. I am also willing to offer my loyalty. Just like that girl, I am willing to be marked. Please, don't kill me. Erwin said, Do you think that whoever wants my purple lotus mark can get it? Rita Skeeter, you have no value to me at all. What makes you think that you are qualified to get it? My purple lotus mark. Rita looked at Erwin's eyes that were gradually becoming colder. I just feel like my soul is frozen at this time. The murderous aura emanating from Erwin was something Rita had never felt before. She didn't know how many people had to be killed to have such a strong murderous intention, let alone why an 11-year-old wizard could have such a strong murderous intention. But under the stimulation of murderous intent, Rita felt that her head was clearer than ever before. Her brain was working rapidly, thinking of ways to save her life. Sir, believe me, I am valuable. I know many secrets, including some pure blood families, as well as executives from the Ministry of Magic. The manuscripts I wrote are also liked by many people. I am the editor of the Daily Prophet, editor-in-chief. I can help you write a manuscript and write a manuscript that is beneficial to you. As long as you need it, I can write it according to your ideas. No matter what your purpose is, you need a tongue and a mouth to help you in the magical world. Convey what you mean. I can be your tongue. I can help you convey all your words. Erwin said nothing, looking at Rita Skeeter in a bottle. Sure enough, this guy was annoying in the original work. But you really can't underestimate her, a Ravenclaw student. And also learned about the Animagus. Her qualifications and intelligence can be imagined. The reason why Erwin scared Rita is very simple. When you force others to do something, you can never guarantee that the other person will fulfill their duties because they are passive. But if the other party takes the initiative, it will be different. Under high pressure, she will feel that she can survive only by showing her own worth. Then she has to work harder to show her value. Especially for smart people, this trick is very suitable. A truly good horse is never what you ask him to do. But he knows what he can do, and he works hard to do it. Seeing that Erwin didn't speak, Rita saw hope of living. He struck while the iron was hot and said, "Sir, believe me, I am more valuable alive than dead. I will let you see my value. Spare my life, and I will prove it to you." Chapter 195. Erwin put down his wand and opened the jar. Rita quickly flew out and transformed into a human form. Kneeling on the ground, holding Erwin's shoes, he lowered his head and kissed the toes of Erwin's shoes. His attitude was very flattering. "Sir, I am valuable and I am willing to devote my loyalty to you. Please give me this opportunity." It was almost time for Erwin to see it. Rita was terrified. Erwin said, "Stretch out your arms." Rita tremblingly stretched her arms in front of Erwin. Erwin's wand touched Rita's arm, and soon the purple lotus mark formed. Rita felt even more afraid. This method is the method of the Dark Lord. Although the style is different from the Dark Mark, it is more terrifying than the Dark Lord. Rita felt a little regretful, regretting why she came to Hogwarts. But now everything is a foregone conclusion. Erwin said, "Then, let's use your strengths. I won't interfere with your reporting, but I think you are a smart person and know how to write." Rita nodded quickly. "I know, sir. Don't worry, I will prove my worth, and you will see my report in tomorrow's Daily Prophet." Erwin nodded. "Well, very good, work hard. One day you will know that the purple lotus mark is not a restriction for you. It is an amulet and the glory of your life." Rita lowered her head. "Thank you, sir, I understand." Erwin waved his hand. "Go ahead and do what you should do. I will call you if necessary. Don't stop your collection of dirty information about Ministry of Magic officials. You will need it in the future." Rita's heart trembled. She understood the implication of Erwin's words. Erwin wanted to take action against the Ministry of Magic. Rita didn't ask or say much. Her brain not only allowed her to be admitted to Ravenclaw, which is known for its intelligence, but also allowed her to know when to say what to say. "Yes, sir." Later, Rita transforms into a beetle and flies away from the window. Erwin watched the beetle leave, his eyes flashing. Now that the most important chess pieces have fallen, the next step is to wait for the next step. The actions of the pureblood family, I hope they will not disappoint me. Erwin has made so many preparations, and now he only has the last step. If all plans develop according to Erwin's plan, then by the end of this school year, the Cavendi family will have a firm foothold in the magical world, and will be a big family. Just then, the purple lotus mark on Erwin's arm suddenly reacted. Erwin's eyes lit up. "Connect the purple lotus mark." Advertisement, Old Tom's voice sounded in Erwin's heart. "Master, everything is as you expected. Just now, our store was attacked, and the 2 wizards you hired me died in the attack. The person who attacked us is a dark wizard, now the proud leader of the Ministry of Magic. Luo has intervened. What to do next?" The corner of Erwin's mouth rose. It finally started, faster than I thought. It seems that the allegiance of the Selwyn family, as well as my fire shield and identity, made them feel uneasy. "Very good. Are you ready for everything I asked you to prepare?" "Yes, master. I did everything according to your instructions." Although the 2 wizards are very poor, they both graduated from Hogwarts and performed very well in school. They also have many friends, and now the Aurors have blocked them. At the scene, some wizards heard the news and rushed over. "We want to find justice for the 2 of them." Erwin thought for a while. "I will ask a reporter from the Daily Prophet to find you later. Then, you tell her the matter, and she will know how to deal with it. How many regular customers are there in the store now?" Because our materials are fresher than other stores and we retain more magic power. According to the membership card rules you mentioned, Master, we now have a total of 7 diamond members in the store, 4 of which are well-known magicians in the magic world. Medicine Master. Of the other 3, 2 are from pure blood families, and 1 is the writer Lockhart that you brought to my attention, Master. According to your instructions, we gave him a diamond membership card. As for diamonds, there are 11 emerald membership cards below, 20 platinum membership cards, and a total of more than 100 bronze, silver, and gold membership cards below. Erwin was a little surprised. So much? Yes, Tom, you did a very good job. Then let's start the next step. Old Tom hesitated for a moment. If I follow your plan, Master, will there be any trouble? If they can't get the materials, will the card be refunded? Erwin said, Don't worry about this, they won't look for us. They will only look for the culprit and follow the plan. Write to the Ministry of Magic, and I will arrange for a reporter to interview you. Remember our plan and package yourself. Get up. The storm has begun to gather, so let's make this storm more violent. I'm looking forward to it. After hanging up the connection with old Tom, Erwin was in a good mood. I have to say, today is really a good day. Erwin underestimated the stimulation that Selwyn's investment would have on other pureblood families. But that's fine. Erwin's next plan has just been a smooth transition. This was an unexpected surprise. Kill the chicken to scare the monkey. The chicken is ready. Now you just need to sharpen the knife. Erwin stood at the window, looking at the calm black lake below. The dark lake surface makes it difficult for people to see the depth. In fact, the unknown lake water has already been rough. Let's be messy. Let's be messy. When the storm reaches its peak, it's time for Erwin to take action. Erwin raised his hand and grabbed it in the air. The magical world has been stagnant for too long. He needs to instill new enthusiasm into this magical world. Meanwhile, the British border. Wenda, wearing an evening gown and a blue top hat, suddenly appeared on the spot. He raised his chin slightly and glanced around. Come out. After all these years, there is still no progress at all. Follow me all the way. After the words fell, several vortexes appeared. Then, several figures appeared on the spot and surrounded Cheetah. Venderosier, go back to Nymengard. Wenda sneered. What? You still want to stop me? The Ministry of Magic is really getting worse and worse. You waste can actually be ores. People of your level are even considered cannon fodder in the Saints. Not on. The Auror who had spoken just now looked ugly after hearing this, but he didn't dare to attack. Wenda's strength was achieved through actual combat, and was achieved step by step with the magic wand in his hand and the silent death curse. The Auror said coldly, according to the agreement, the Saint cannot leave Germany. Chapter 196. Wenda pointed his finger on his chin. There was a thoughtful look on his face. When you said that, it seemed like it was true. I almost forgot. When the Auror heard what Wenda said, he breathed a sigh of relief. In that case, let's go back. Ms. Rogier. Wenda covered her mouth and burst into laughter. But why should I abide by the agreement? You don't think that you are the rule makers of this prison game, do you? The rules are always in our hands. While speaking, the magic wand suddenly appeared in Wenda's hand. The Auror's heart suddenly tightened when he saw this. He quickly took out his wand, but didn't wait for him to do it. A green light flew directly from Wenda's wand. Hit him. The next moment, he was unconscious. When the other Aurors saw Wenda take action, they quickly took out their wands and shot several magic spells at Wenda. Wenda stood where he was, with no thought of moving his body. The magic wand in his hand was like a nimble elf. With a few random moves, the magic spells were directly deflected. Wenda shook his head. Weak, too weak. The magic world is really getting more and more degenerate. You guys are really too weak. It makes me bored. If this is all you have, then go to hell. A flash of panic flashed across the faces of several Aurors. One of the Aurors took his chance. Avada Kedavra. A green light shot towards Wenda. However, the next moment, Wenda's figure disappeared directly from the spot. The green light fell directly on one of the Aurors. Wenda appeared behind the Auror, who used the death curse. The wand was pointed at the Auror's head. Slow, too slow. Get on the road. Under the sky, above the grass. Several green lights flew out, leaving only a few corpses on the spot. Wenda's figure had disappeared, and a newspaper fell from the air. It was the Daily Prophet, and at the top of the newspaper was a headline. The best new student at Hogwarts, Erwin Cavendi, who discovered the coexistence of the transformation curse, the counter curse, and the release curse, will compete in the final prefect challenge at Hogwarts today. After a long time, several Aurors from the Ministry of Magic appeared on the battlefield. Seeing several corpses on the ground, their expressions changed instantly. They fought against Winda. Inform the British Ministry of Magic that Winda has gone to England. Then what should we do next? Are we going to Nurmengard? Stop making trouble. If Grindelwald wanted to come out, he would have come out long ago. Go to Nurmengard? Go to raise an army to prosecute? Do you also want to become a corpse? We can't handle this matter. Take it with you. The corpse has left. Winda has gone to England anyway, and what happens next has nothing to do with us. Even if the saint reappears in the magic world, it is not something we can control. Let's go. Several others nodded. He collected the corpses on the ground and then operated away. The scene fell silent again. No one would know that a wizard battle had taken place here, and several unlucky Aurors had fallen here. At this time, Erwin didn't know that the French Black Rose was heading towards Hogwarts, and the purpose of this thorny black rose is precisely because of him. Advertisement. After cutting off contact with Tom, Erwin planned to take a rest. Just then, there was a knock on Erwin's door. Erwin sat up and realized that he seemed to be extra busy today. Erwin flicked his wand. The door opens. Grodya stood at the door. Sir, Erwin said. Come in. What's the matter? Grodya walked into the room and took out a bottle of potion and a parchment. Chief, this is what my grandfather left behind when he left Hogwarts. Let me give it to you. Erwin took it curiously. What is this? Grodya said, that potion is the reason for the second burst of magic power in our Selwyn family. As for the parchment, I don't know either. But Grandpa said, you will know after reading it. Erwin nodded. Grodya said, one more thing. The hidden prefect of the first grade has been re-elected. Erwin asked, who is it? Draco? Grodya shook his head. No, it's Pansy. Pansy killed Draco with one move. When Grodya said this, there was a smile that couldn't be hidden in his eyes. Erwin noticed this. It seems that Draco lost a bit embarrassingly. Grodya nodded. Well, he was knocked straight away and hit the wall. It seems like 2 ribs were broken. He should be in the school doctor's office now. Erwin shook his head. What a real talent. Grodya stood there with some hesitation on his face. Erwin asked in confusion, what's wrong? Is there anything else? Grodya said, well, sir, although there are some things I shouldn't say, Charlotte, do you need to be on guard? Erwin looked at Grodya. He smiled and said, it seems that Charlotte's character design is really good. Even you think she is mine. Grodya looked at Erwin in confusion. Erwin said, it's okay. Don't worry about her. I know it well. She is one of our own now, by the way. Stretch out your arm. Grodya's eyes lit up. He had already known that Erwin had a method similar to the Dark Mark. Now all Slytherins are proud to be marked by Erwin. Batten Dulu, the only person who was marked by the Purple Lotus before today, has long been the envy of everyone. Grodya didn't hesitate at all. After planting the Purple Lotus mark, Erwin told Grodya the purpose of the mark. Then let Grodya leave. He put the potion aside, then opened the parchment and began to examine it. Erwin read it carefully, his brows gradually furrowed. This parchment is actually very simple. It is a method of making a potion, and this potion is the one sent by Grodya. It is the secret that can make people have a second burst of magic power. The reason why Erwin frowned was because of the signature of this potion. In Karen Cavendi and Charles Selwyn. In Karen, Erwin knew. It is found in the family genealogy, and this potion was invented by Karen based on her own bloodline ability. In the parchment, the bloodline abilities of the Cavendi family are recorded in detail. It can cause multiple bursts of magic power, and the number of bursts is related to the purity of the blood. Multiple bursts of magic power can accumulate more magic power. This is the Dragon Whisperer bloodline ability of the Cavendi family. Erwin also understood why he could have multiple bursts of magic power when he was a child. That was the power of the bloodline. Close the parchment roll. Erwin sighed. How sad it is that the bloodline ability of his family still needs to be known from outsiders. Chapter 197. However, it can be seen from this parchment that this is not the first time that the Cavendi family and the Selwyn family have cooperated. After all, the Selwyn family can also master this kind of secret, and it has not been spread out. It seems that the Cavendi family has cooperated with the Selwyn family. There is something between the family and the Selwyn family that Erwin doesn't know about. Looking at the potion at hand, Erwin picked it up and shook it gently. Although this potion was made based on the bloodline of the Cavendi family, it is an ability that comes with the Cavendi family's Dragon Whisperer bloodline, but that does not mean that this potion is useless to the Cavendi family. On the contrary, the Cavendi family can also use it, and can add another magic riot on the original basis. This potion is a good thing, but the materials used to make it are too rare and cannot be mass-produced. Erwin looked at the potion in his hand and murmured, I don't know if this bottle of potion can increase my magic power to another level. But Erwin didn't rush and drank it directly. Having learned from the past, Erwin can't afford to be stupid again. The last magic riot almost tore off the roof of Hogwarts. You can say that you didn't know it was an accident that time. If it happens again this time, it's more or less because you're ignorant. Erwin stood up and snapped his fingers. The next moment, Erwin appeared in a study room. The entire study is decorated in starry sky tones. It looks very nice. The carpets and furniture are all in the style of a starry sky. Although no one has been here for who knows how many years, the room is still spotless. Just when Erwin came to this study, Ravenclaw came out automatically again. I haven't been back for a long time. Erwin rolled his eyes. Your Majesty, your study is really hidden. The study room that Erwin is currently in is Ravenclaw's former study room. Apart from the 4 giants in this world, Helena should be the only one who knows about it. And now there is one more person. If Erwin hadn't obtained the Ravenclaw inheritance and obtained a quarter of the Hogwarts authority, he wouldn't have discovered that there was actually another floor at the top of the Ravenclaw dormitory. There is such a study room. Ravenclaw walked around the study for a while. His fingers swept across the rows of bookshelves, his eyes full of nostalgia. It's so nostalgic. Once upon a time, I was sitting here, and Helena was sitting next to me, holding a book and asking me many seemingly childish questions. Unfortunately, everything is in the past. Erwin looked at Ravenclaw. I don't know what to say to comfort this person who has long been lost in the torrent of time. Fortunately, Ravenclaw is one of the big 4. Her ability to self-regulate is extremely strong, and she quickly got out of the state of worrying about gains and losses just now. Ravenclaw said, You can come and take a look at the books here if you have nothing to do. There are many books here that have been handed down from a long time ago. Maybe you can gain something. Erwin nodded. Ravenclaw had no intention of continuing the conversation with Erwin. Maybe it was because of the sadness in his heart that he returned directly to the crown. Erwin ignored her, opened the potion, and drank it in one gulp. A bitter taste exploded in Erwin's mouth. Erwin couldn't help but frown. The next second, the medicine was poured into his stomach. Erwin felt the magic power in his body suddenly begin to boil. It's like dry wood meeting a strong fire. Advertisement instantly ignited. Magic began to riot in Erwin's body. From Erwin's body surface, streams of magic energy escaped, shooting out in all directions. When it came into contact with the study wall, bursts of starlight surged on the study wall, blocking the magic power and preventing it from leaving the study room. And Erwin could feel the magic power in his body beginning to grow rapidly. It was an increase that was visible to the naked eye, and Erwin could clearly feel it. This process lasted for a long time, until the sky outside the castle gradually dimmed. The magic power in Erwin's body returned to calm. Erwin slowly opened his eyes. Deep in his eyes, a purple lotus slowly bloomed. The system prompt sounds. Ding. Congratulations on the increase in the host's magic level. The current magic level is level 4. Erwin let out a breath. I was very happy. At level 4, this means that Erwin has the magic power of an elite Auror and an ordinary professor. Coupled with the many spells controlled by Erwin, there are also system glitches. Erwin was convinced that he now truly had the power to protect himself in this magical world. Erwin continued to adjust the magic power in his body. The magic power was upgraded. Erwin also needed to adapt to the sudden surge in magic power. At the same time, in the castle of the Solent family in Germany, Alan Solent was sitting in front of the fireplace, holding a giant dragon next to him and taking a nap out of boredom. Alan's hand brushed over the scales on the dragon's head. At this time, a figure in black robe hurriedly walked in. Wake up the dragon. The giant dragon raised its head. A flash of violence flashed in its eyes. 2 plumes of smoke came out of his nostrils. Alan patted the dragon's head gently. The dragon fell silent. What's wrong? The man in black robe fearfully glanced at the dragon lying next to Alan. Then he bent down and said, Master, there is news from England. The news comes from the current patriarch of the Yaxley family and is related to the child of the Cavendi family. Alan's movements on his hands paused. Oh, let me see. The man in black robe handed a letter to Alan. Alan picked it up and looked at it for a while, with a flash of surprise in his eyes. Fire shield for protection? Allegiance to the pureblood family? Interesting. So interesting. I didn't expect that this fish who slipped through the net would use fire shield to protect himself. Is there any news on Nurmengard? The man in black robe said. Our people at the Ministry of Magic sent back the news that Winda left Nurmengard, headed towards England, and killed several Aurors at the border. Alan frowned slightly. Will that black rose actually leave Grindelwald? It should be Grindelwald's instruction. Not surprisingly, it is going to the Cavendi family that slipped through the net. The man in black robe said. Then, Master, should we take advantage of Winda's absence to get rid of Grindelwald? That way, we can take action against the Saints. Alan looked at the man in black robe. A flash of displeasure flashed in his eyes. The man in black robe quickly knelt down. I'm sorry, Master. I'm too talkative, Alan said coldly. I hope you won't say such stupid things in the future. He is Grindelwald. Kill Grindelwald. Do you think you can do it? What do you think Grindelwald relies on to stand in the magical world? A subordinate? He relies on his own strength. Chapter 198. The man in black robe lowered his head even further. I'm sorry, Master. I took it for granted, Alan said. How many people in the Saints are now willing to join our Solent family? The man in black robe said. It's not too many. The Saints are all old people. They are loyal to Grindelwald. We can only start with their families. We can't do more. Sauron said. Take your time. If the Saint is so easy to penetrate, he will not be a saint. The man in black robe nodded. What should we do about the Cavendi family child? Sauron said. Dumbledore is protecting him now. We can't touch him. However, we can't take action, but others can let the Yaxley family deal with him. The man in black robe said. Then we want to give the Yaxley family some help? I'm afraid that the Yaxley family can't deal with him. Although the Cavendi family has faded out of the magic world, they still have the connections they left behind. Plus, there are pure-blood families loyal to him now. Sauron smiled and said, Yaxley, of course they can't deal with him. That kid is very interesting. If he can be defeated by Yaxley so easily, he can't be called the descendant of Cavendi. The Cavendi family, the strongest of the four above, is really exciting. I can't wait to see him. The seal in his body has not been completely lifted. We can't kill him or move him. Let's find some trouble for him. Have fun. The man in black robe hesitated for a moment. He is growing too fast. Will he pose a threat to us? Sauron said coldly. What? Do you think I will lose? The man in black robe said quickly. No. Of course the master will not be defeated. Alan waved his hand. Go ahead and make arrangements. The man in black robe quickly retreated. A medal appeared in Alan's hand. The blue lotus mark shimmered in the light of the fireplace. Alan murmured. Fire shield. Interesting, Grindelwald. Did you notice something? At this moment, the giant dragon lying next to him suddenly raised his head and looked at Alan. Alan's expression had changed at this time, and a hint of darkness flashed deep in his eyes. A look of pain appeared on Alan's face. I understand, sir. I will do it as soon as possible. Please stop. After a while, Alan's face returned to normal. On his forehead, a drop of cold sweat slipped down. Time passes bit by bit. When Erwin opened his eyes again, it was already midnight. He perfectly missed his dinner. This made the little snakes feel a little uneasy. Fortunately, Glodia guessed that Erwin was going to use the potion, so the little snakes were appeased, and Slytherin didn't cause any trouble. At the professor's chair, several professors were a little worried. After the dinner, Snape asked Glodia specifically. After learning from Glodia that Erwin was fine, Snape felt relieved. Erwin snapped his fingers and left Ravenclaw's study. Then it's time to harvest. Slytherin's treasure. Here he comes. Erwin's figure reappeared, having reached the deepest part of the Slytherin common room. What stood in front of Erwin was a wall. According to the map in Erwin's mind, the hidden room is behind this wall. But how to get in? While Erwin was thinking, the ring representing the chief on Erwin's finger suddenly lit up. Then, Erwin felt waves of suction coming from the ring. Some of the magic power in Erwin's body was extracted and poured into the ring. Advertisement the next moment. A snake-shaped shadow slowly condensed on the ring. After the snake-shaped condensation was completed, it hit the wall directly in front of it. On the wall, a vortex suddenly appeared. Then, Erwin's figure was sucked in directly. There was a sudden spin. Erwin opened his eyes again, and the environment around him had changed. Erwin glanced around. How does this place look like the layout of the secret room in the movie? What the hell? Why don't you prepare a secret room for him? Are you kidding me? Voldemort has emptied this place. So, the Slytherin inheritance was taken away by Voldemort a long time ago? While Erwin was thinking, A voice came from the statue at the end. You actually know the Chamber of Secrets? Are you a descendant of my Slytherin family? Then, from above the statue, a figure slowly condensed and floated in midair. Erwin's heart trembled. Is this Slytherin? He could be sure that those words he just said were all in his mind, and he didn't say them out loud at all. How did this Slytherin hear this? Slytherin looked at Erwin. He smiled and said, "Don't think about it. This is just a more advanced form of legilimency, or in other words, this is another way of using legilimency. By the way, you should not learn this kind of magic now. What a pity. Griffin, that idiot, never knows how to use the true power of magic." Slytherin's words reminded Erwin of a person, Queenie Jacob. In the original work, a member of the Saints is considered the heart of the Saints and can hear the voices of all wizards. It is actually legilimency. However, her legilimency is even more outrageous than Dumbledore. Even if it is not the body, even in the same space, you can hear other people's thoughts. At this moment, Erwin's crown appeared. Ravenclaw floated out directly. There was anger on his face. B***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************e ****D. Salazar. I finally see you again." Slytherin was also shocked when he saw Ravenclaw. The calmness on his face disappeared instantly. Instead, there was a look of panic. Rowena, listen to my explanation." Ravenclaw's face was covered with frost. "Explanation? I don't need to hear your explanation, Salazar. You damn B***************************** D. I must teach you a lesson." While speaking, Ravenclaw raised his hand and waved. A ray of starlight rushed directly towards Slytherin. Slytherin was so shocked that he didn't react at all. It was directly blown away by the starlight. Erwin was shocked. Why did he start hitting people before he could even react? Slytherin hid behind a statue of himself. "Rowena, calm down, I can explain," Ravenclaw said. "You can explain it to Helga. I just want to teach you a lesson now. Don't try to resist me. Midnight is the most dazzling moment in the starry sky. You are no match for me." After saying that, Ravenclaw blasted out another starlight. Erwin understood. It turned out that this was what Ravenclaw meant when he asked him to come at midnight. It's about beating Slytherin. "Excuse me, the founder of my school is being hammered. Do you want to help? I'm waiting online. It's very urgent." Chapter 199. Ravenclaw was simply going crazy. As his palms waved, streaks of starlight escaped. The power was terrifying, and Slytherin was beaten so hard that he ran away with his head in his arms. Erwin kept looking around, fearing that a basilisk would come out. But after observing like this, Erwin seemed to have really discovered something different. This place doesn't seem to be a secret room. In the original book, the corridor of the secret room runs from west to east, and there is a statue at the end of the east side of the secret room. But this place runs from east to west, just like a mirror image. If Slytherin didn't have a second basilisk, there should be no basilisk in this place. At this time, Slytherin could not see anything like the 4 founders of the college. He has been running away in embarrassment, dodge Ravenclaw's attacks. But Erwin could tell that Slytherin had no intention of fighting back. Instead, he was just avoiding it, with deep helplessness in his eyes. And according to Erwin's lack of emotional experience, he knew that there might be a big melon here. Thinking of this, Erwin's eyes began to burn with fire. This is called the Fire of Bagua. Is it possible that there is a secret between Slytherin and Ravenclaw that needs to be told? Erwin was excited. "I want to see the follow-up. Please update as soon as possible." Gossip is everyone's nature, especially for people in Dacia who live a comfortable life. Apart from gossip, Dacia people have no other fun. And Erwin is a qualified Dacia native at heart. Ravenclaw was beating and scolding. "Damn it, you and Gorick are 2 idiots. You know clearly that you can't interfere in that kind of battle, but why do you want to participate? Why? You know that I have been with Helga. How long will it take? We need to be worried for you. We are afraid that you will not come back." As a result, you really did not come back. As you said, the 4 of us will never be separated. Forever, we will bring unhappiness to the wizards together. The same future, you said? Why lie to me? Why, Salazar, you be asterisk 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 D. You damn be asterisk 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 D. You blood first be asterisk 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 D. You clearly said, seek good fortune and avoid disaster, and profit is the most important thing. Lord, be wise and protect yourself. But what about the consequences? Ravenclaw's tears flowed uncontrollably. There is no hold on his hands. Starlight is like an interstellar annihilation cannon. Blast holes into the ground here. Erwin couldn't help but swallowed. It was so scary. An angry woman was so scary. However, the original book said that the relationship between the four giants was not good, which seems not accurate. But think about it, even if it is because of different ideas. But after all, the four giants have been together for so long, and the bond is still there. Especially now, it seems that the relationship between these four giants is not normal. How could we have a falling out just because of a mere disagreement over ideas? Slytherin didn't say a word and continued to dodge the attack. Just wait for Ravenclaw to calm down before saying anything else. Gradually, the strength of Ravenclaw's attack weakened, until Ravenclaw stopped attacking and squatted on the ground, crying silently. Slytherin sighed. Come to Ravenclaw. I'm sorry, Rowena. It's all my fault. It was my ambition that made me have unrealistic illusions, which harmed Gorick and harmed you all. It's all my fault. Advertisement. Ravenclaw said nothing, squatting there, as quiet as a stone statue. Slytherin did not speak and stood beside Ravenclaw. Erwin, who should be the protagonist today, was forgotten by the two of them. This made Erwin feel a little uncomfortable. If I remember correctly, he came here to get the inheritance. What is the charter now? He watched a good show, and then what? At this moment, Slytherin seemed to have just remembered Erwin. Throw a parchment to Erwin. Sign him. Erwin opened the parchment, and it turned out that he also owned a quarter of Hogwarts. Erwin didn't hesitate at all, and signed his name directly. Just like the ownership obtained from Ravenclaw, in the same process, Erwin gained control of the Slytherin area. Slytherin said, "The chief ring is my second inheritance. Now that you are recognized by Hogwarts, you can use the power of the ring. Go and study it yourself, okay? Go ahead." After saying that, Slytherin waved his hand directly. Erwin was immediately driven away. After the world turned upside down, Erwin appeared in front of the wall again. Erwin suddenly became anxious. No, I haven't finished the play yet. Let me finish reading it. Erwin raised his hand and knocked on the wall. Your Majesty Slytherin? Why don't you stay with me for a while? Teach me something, or give me your Majesty Ravenclaw. I still have to learn from your Majesty, and I still have to wear the crown. Go down and see Miss Helena. However, there was no response at all. Erwin was numb. He can buy a ticket to watch the movie, so what's the point of just throwing it out like this? The most important thing is that he took his grandmother with him. This wave of blood loss. Sure enough, Slytherins are all evil and none of them are good. Erwin had no choice but to return to his dormitory to study his chief ring. This incident has become such a big deal. It seems like this trip was in vain. Uncomfortable, extremely and particularly uncomfortable. At this time, in that space, Ravenclaw's mood had calmed down. Salazar, I need an explanation. Slytherin said, I will explain to you that this ray of soul I left here is also for this reason. Ravenclaw said, Is this soul left behind before you left Hogwarts? Slytherin nodded. Well, it's better to be prepared. You need to know the truth. If we can't come back, this soul will tell you the truth. Ravenclaw said, What happened in the first place? Why did you die in the battle? According to your strength, even if you can't win, you can at least escape. Not to mention, you were not the main force at that time. Why did you suddenly die in battle? Slytherin sighed and said, We underestimated their power, or in other words, we never knew how terrifying their power was. If it weren't for the strong men in Dacia who used their own lives to block them, no one can come back. Even he can't come back. Our strength is too weak. Although we are only one step away from them, this step is like a chasm. We have no way to fight back in front of them. With so much power, the spells that Gallic and I cast on them cannot even cause damage. Their life levels have already surpassed ours by far. Chapter 200. Ravenclaw frowned and said, Why is this happening? This does not match our estimate. Slytherin said, I don't know, but it's really terrifying. The reason why I left this ray of soul is to tell you the truth at that time and the horror of that battle. With the help of Dacia's formation, we had the advantage at first, and we found a way to eliminate them. But at the critical moment, that person appeared. He was not dead, or in other words, what Merlin chopped off at that time was just a fake version of him, and the real him has been hiding, waiting for the opportunity. At that time, the strong men of Dacia were in the decisive battle, and they did not notice his appearance at all. He was attacked from behind, causing the formation to collapse. We were completely defeated. The strong men of Dacia used Dacia's secret method, built a defense with his own life and blocked them. It was only because we were able to resist them. Although we won, the crisis was not touched. Rowena, They will come back. One day they will come back, yes. Dasha no longer has the power to stop them for the second time. And the magic world around the world does not have the power to stop them for the second time. So we need to find a way to break the situation. Ravenclaw frowned. Something suddenly occurred to me. What are you talking about? Slytherin nodded. Yes, that's him. If you follow him, you should see some problems. Ravenclaw nodded. Yes, he has Merlin's bloodline and his bloodline. The two bloodlines are strangely peaceful in his body, but the confrontation between old enemies has a strange balance. This surprises me, Slytherin said. Yes, this is the hope we have found, or a glimmer of hope. It's Dasha's handiwork. I don't know how to do it specifically, but what I know is that Dasha is playing chess. A very big game of chess, and he is the most important chess piece. He can influence the outcome and allow us to enter a new chapter. From the current situation, you should have noticed that time is already moving forward. Now that he is gone, he is what Dacia calls the variable, the one who can break things. Only by breaking everything can this end. Ravenclaw said, You are crazy. You don't know how crazy your plan is. Slytherin said, I know, Rowena. All of us know that this plan is crazy, but we have no other way. Do you want to live like this day after day, forever? The fact that you can appear here and see me means that everything has changed, doesn't it? We can only bet, and we have no other choice but to make a desperate move. Ravenclaw frowned. But what if he fails? If he fails, we won't have another chance. Slytherin said coldly, He will not fail, and he cannot fail. He carries everyone's hope on his shoulders, and it is the only way to jump out. To say the least, even if he really fails, then the whole world they will be buried with him. At least we have tried hard and changed. I am really fed up with my current life, Rowena. I am really fed up with this. This is the mistake of all of us, and we must pay for this mistake. Pay the bill, even if it costs our lives. Ravenclaw was silent for a moment and sighed. Forget it, I can't care about this. You may be right. I gave him a divination, but it was dark. I couldn't see his path clearly, nor could I see clearly. I don't know if you will succeed in your journey, but I am already dead. The worst result is that this soul disappears into thin air, but it is enough to see you again. Maybe, this time, we can really succeed. I just hope he won't be another Voldemort. Slytherin smiled and said, No, he can't be Voldemort, because their essences are different. I don't know how Dasha did it, but what I can tell you is that he is completely different from Voldemort. He was able to take a completely different path, which was a radical change. Ravenclaw nodded. I hope so. Gorick, did you leave your soul behind? A trace of sadness flashed in Slytherin's eyes. No, he felt that he would definitely be able to come back. So, he didn't prepare in advance. Advertisement Ravenclaw's eyes were slightly red. Can he come back? Slytherin said, I don't know, but according to the calculations of the strong men in Dacia, it is possible. The magic world is too weak now and needs more power. If that child can really make it to the last step, he should be able to do it. For himself and for the whole world, he needs more power. Ravenclaw nodded. Then what will you do next? Will you continue to stay here? Slytherin said, Well, I need to wait here for the right opportunity. You can follow that child and see this new magical world. If you look at this child, you may see a different future. Ravenclaw said, That kid is really interesting. I like him very much. However, that kid is a little silly and has many things. His plans are very interesting, but in my opinion, they are full of loopholes. However, compared to others, he is already a genius. Slytherin smiled and said, Rowena, not everyone is as smart as you. I know everything that kid did in Slytherin. It's very interesting. He is a born Slytherin, ambitious, he has brains and means. He is also ruthless and ruthless. Ravenclaw said, No, he is a natural Ravenclaw. He is knowledgeable and smart. I don't know if the old hat left by Gorick is too old to actually assign such a good talent to Sri Lanka. Litlin, I said at the beginning that using a shabby hat to decide the academy for a young wizard is just like a joke. It is clear that Gorick dislikes the spell legilimency the most, but he left the shabby hat with legilimency. The most ridiculous thing about using the legilimency spell to sort students into different schools is that the shabby legilimens can't see through the child's occlumency at all. It's simply a joke. Slytherin said nothing. Because, actually, what everyone doesn't know is, the legilimency on the sorting hat was left by his own hands. Of course, his legilimency at that time was not as powerful and outrageous as it is now. But he never thought that a student like Erwin would appear. Whose 11-year-old preschool wizard masters a clemency? Isn't this a pure disaster? But Slytherin would never take the initiative to say such an embarrassing thing.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.